Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto is strong as Hashirama. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Naruto sighed as he looked across the village of Suna, and then he looked behind him at the man standing in the doorway and said, "How long will this go on, my friend?" Gaara looked at him and said, "A year, maybe 2 if we're lucky. There is just no way to stop it here." After defeating Akatsuki and then the war that followed took every country by storm, farmlands were turned to wastelands, rivers poisoned, ships sunk. No one could have predicted the power vacuum that would be felt by that war. It was just too costly. Naruto nods and said, "2/3 of all the lives in the world were lost during it. I can still hear the screams of pain for everyone I killed during that time to save Konoha." Gaara nods and said, "I as well for Suna, but in the end, leaving the rest unsaid." Naruto said, "I have nothing left, Gaara. Everything I was fighting for is gone. Madara won. Even after I killed him, he still won. Konoha was destroyed." Gaara asked, "What would you give to save Konoha if you could, my friend?" Naruto said, "Anything." Not really paying attention to him, Gaara said, "Would you be willing to change history completely and forever?" For the first time, Naruto truly turned away from the destroyed village of Suna and asked, "What are you up to, Raccoon?" Gaara smiled and said, "A lesson a fox taught me. Never give up and never believe in fate. You more than anyone else have a chance to change it all, starting with where your story truly began." As he finally showed he was making hand seals, and Gaara said, "Goodbye, my friend." And he slammed his hands to the ground, and suddenly the room was filled with yellow and blue light before fading. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and covered them because he was blinded by sunlight. He sat up and looked around and found himself in the middle of Suna, but the village looked nothing like it had before. Naruto blinked and looked at himself and thought, "Well, I can't see anything different, but I feel different for some reason." A man screamed, "Hey kid, what the hell you doing on my roof? Get off." Catching Naruto's attention, Naruto looked down and said, "Sorry." As he jumped away to another roof and then landed in an alley, and he entered his mind and looked at the cage where Kyuubi had been, and he saw the cage was empty. He frowned, thought, "That can't be good," and returned to normal, and he held out his hand and began to gather chakra, forming a Rasengan, and thought, "My chakra control seems about right but a little off." As he reached for a kunai and pulled one out and cut his finger and thought, "Well, at least my healing factor is still working right. Think, Suna does not look like this, but I saw the canyon walls that surround the village, so it is Suna." Gaara said, "I could change the future, so does that mean he sent me to the past? Damn it, but when did he send me to, and what did he have planned? I need to get to Konoha. Once there I can figure out where I am." He sighed and looked around the village and saw there was a guard at the gate, and he frowned and walked toward the gate. The guard said, "Halt, where do you think you're going, and who are you? I don't recognize you." Naruto said, "I'm just passing through on my way to wave to see my aunt and uncle. My parents passed away from bandits north of here. I arrived late yesterday and want to get on my way." The man looked at Naruto and said, "You're armed like a shinobi and you have larger chakra reserves than I do." Naruto nods and said, "My father was a shinobi before he lost his arm and married my mother. He taught me a few things so I could defend myself when we were traveling, since he was a merchant and wanted me to be one." The man asked, "Are you interested in becoming a shinobi? We are always looking for new recruits here." Naruto said, "I don't know. I might someday, but I have to see my family first." The man smirked and said, "You don't really expect me to believe that bullshit story, do you? Every ninja in the village has seen and felt you since the moment you arrived a little earlier today. Now why don't we go see the cage and see what he wants to do with you, spy?" As he moved toward Naruto shrugged, and as 3 more ninja appeared around Naruto, he looked at them and over his shoulders and closed his eyes a moment and began to twist as he released chakra from his body and screamed, "Kaden." As the chakra dome shot out and threw the 4 men away, and he took off running out of the village gates as fast as possible. He ran for about an hour when he began to feel really tired and thought, "Shit, that took a lot more out of me than I thought it would." He turned his head as he detected several chakra signature coming, and he frowned as he began flashing through hand seals to use a jutsu he created with Gaara help, and suddenly a cloud of dust where he had been. 2 minutes later 20 ninja appeared around the spot the dust had been, and they looked around, and one man said, "Find him. His track and chakra signature showed he was here just moments ago." As the men looked around, Naruto was inside a sand dune 20 feet away in a 3 feet cube, and he had his eyes closed concentrating. 30 minutes later 19 of the men were back where Naruto had originally disappeared to, and the leader said, "Damn it, the cage is not going to like this. Where is Calker?" A Chunin said, His body is about a mile east of here, sir. It looks like he was attacked by some kind of creature. He was in several pieces. The man who was leading them frowned and said, "Let's head back to inform the cage, but look for signs of any creature or him." As they began to head back to Suna, 5 minutes later there was another puff of dust, and Naruto waited until an hour had passed by when he appeared in the open again and took a sip of water before he began to walk toward Konoha. He suddenly tensed as he jumped to the side to avoid a kunai, and the leader of the men was standing there again, and Naruto looked at him and frowned and asked, "What?" The man said, "I must say that was a good trick you pulled back there, but you made a mistake as I felt the iron in your weapons." Naruto frowned as he saw black sand forming. Naruto asked, "Are you the Jinchuriki of Shukaku?" The man froze and said, "No, why?" Naruto said, "I assumed you were, since you were manipulating sand." The man asked, "And how do you know about that?" Naruto said, "I knew the host of it once." As he looked around, the man said, "Not possible, kid. It's been sealed in a kettle for the last 30 years. As the sand moved around circling Naruto, Naruto said, "Tell me, what year is it? The Godem cage never did tell me when he sent me to." Making the man stop a moment and eye Naruto. He said, "The Godem cage, we are currently under the Nidaime cage." Naruto looked at the sky and said, "The Yondaime died 8 years ago and the Sandaime died 15 years before that. He ruled for nearly 20 years, so that means that it's about 45 years back. That means it's around the time Gigi team really began. Cool, thanks." As he put his hands together and said, "Harem Jutsu." As the area was covered with 30 naked women of all different looks making out. The man was blown back with a massive nosebleed, and Naruto smirked as him and his clones each grabbed a kunai and shuriken each and ran off in different directions. When the man woke up there was 25 men there all looking at him, and he bowed as he saw one and said, "Cage-sama." The Nidaime cage looked at the man and asked, "What happened here, Kodo?" Kodo said, "Forgive me, sir, but he distracted me with talk of Shukaku, and then he was able to surprise me with a jutsu that instantly knocked me out. I don't remember what it was he used though. I have memory loss for those few seconds. Also, we have no idea what it was that killed Calker." The cage eyed him and said, "I see. I want a report on what he said and did in 2 days, as well as the body check to find out what attacked him. We don't need our traders attacked bringing in new supplies. It's obvious we won't find him, so let's return to Suna." Naruto had made it about 5 miles before he had to hide in the sand again, letting the heat of the desert pass by and releasing the clones. 2 hours later Naruto was traveling again toward the border. When Naruto made it to the plains between Wind Country and Fire Country, he frowned as he felt Ki, and he turned just in time to see a 3-foot-tall red fox jumping at him with its claws extended, ready to end his life. Before he had time to react, a wall of energy formed in front of him, stopping the creature, who growled and said, "Damn you, and damn your father, and damn you, Shinigami. That blasted seal keeps me from eating you." As it started to circle Naruto blinked and asked, "Kyuubi, is that you?" The fox glared at him and said, "For once that small brain of yours was right about something." Naruto asked as he was trying to figure out what saved him, "What happened to you and how are you free?" Kyuubi growled and said, Free, does this look like I am fucking free to you? I can only go 2 miles from you before I am unable to move. I am still bound to that accursed seal and you even after I escaped during that jutsu the raccoon used." Naruto said, "At least it's better than the cage, right?" Kyuubi glared and said, "I hate you, boy. You have something that belongs to me. My power. I have 1 tail of chakra 1. You have absorbed 3 tails of my chakra, making it yours, and your accursed father sealed the rest away in that damn toad scroll. I want my power back." As he released a lot of ki and snarled at him. Naruto saw Kyuubi trying to be intimidating and he snickered and said, "Aw, is Kyuubi mad?" Kyuubi made another leap at him only to be stopped just like before. He screamed, damn you to hell. I want to eat your flesh from your bones and bath in your blood, but the damn Shinigami still protects you." Naruto, feeling cocky, walked over and grabbed Kyuubi, and Kyuubi began to grow larger, and Naruto quickly let go and Kyuubi fell back to a 2-foot-tall fox, and Kyuubi growled and said, "Damn you. It took me eating that human to get enough strength to grow that tall, and then you take my chakra just like that." Naruto asked, "What human?" Kyuubi sneered and said, "One of those who were tracking you, kid." Naruto frowned and thought, so Kyuubi was what killed the one they were missing. And asked, "You said I took your chakra, then why did you get bigger and how did I do it?" Kyuubi glared and said, "Think about it, human, you have my power. I want it. When you picked me up I took some of my chakra from you, but since you didn't give it to me freely the seal took it back plus more." Naruto's eyes glinted as he said, "So I can just take your chakra and make it mine and kill you?" Kyuubi glared and said, "Make no mistake, boy, I am not your friend, I am not your pet, I am not your partner. I am your prisoner, but I am bound to you by that accursed seal. If you die, I die, and so I will make sure you do not die. I will make your life a living hell though. You can't kill me or you might kill yourself." Naruto said, "Trust me, Fox. I am more than willing to die to stop you. Remember when I prepared for Madara, I learned that jutsu, the one that still binds you to me. If you ever do anything I don't like, the next thing you will see is the Shinigami taking both our asses. Do I make myself clear?" Kyuubi's eyes looked in thought before a hidden smirk appeared as Naruto talked, and he said, "Madara." Naruto blinked and asked, "Yeah, what about him?" Kyuubi looked at Naruto and said, "I think I know what that raccoon was talking about. If what I heard you say about how far back we are, then Madara has not summoned me to this plane yet." Naruto blinked and said, "And?" As he was thinking about all that would mean. Kyuubi said, "And, if I am not summoned to this plane yet, then I am not bound to this world yet. How about a little deal, kid?" As he got an evil smirk. Naruto frowned and asked, "What kind of deal?" As he narrowed his eyes. Kyuubi said, "If I am right, then that means that the summoning contract for my kind is still free. You can no longer use the toads. If you do, then you may make it where the pervert will never get it." Naruto blinked and said, "I didn't think of that. Tell me, what do you have planned, Fox?" Kyuubi said, "If the Fox contract is still free, then you can claim it for yourself, giving you a new contract and preventing Madara from gaining access to it to summon me to fight the Shodan, resulting into me being bound to this world." Naruto said, "And if you were not bound to this world, then would that mean that you would not be here to be sealed into me?" As his eyes got bigger. Kyuubi frowned and said, "Not exactly. I won't be here to be bound to the future you, but you will still be you. If it was not for my chakra in your system, then you would have ceased to exist the moment we arrived, because an object cannot be in two places at the same time. It is one of Kami's rules. If you notice, the necklace that woman gave you is gone now because it exists here." Naruto's eyes got wide and he looked at his chest and saw that it was gone, and he closed his eyes as a tear fell and said, "All right, if what you said is true, then what would happen if I were to summon the other you then?" Kyuubi smirked and said, "Oh, that is easy. I will cease to exist just like that necklace and then pass on." Naruto's eyes were wide and he said, "Wait, you're willing to die to be free?" Kyuubi growled and said, "Yes, now follow me. I will take you to the shrine of Inari where the Kitsune scroll is, and we can end this petty excuse of a life we both share here, and I can pass on." As he took off running, Naruto frowned and took off following the fox. A few hours later, Naruto saw a cave and Kyuubi was standing at the door, and he said, "The shrine is in the bottom of this cave. Hurry up and let's go." Naruto looked at the fox and thought, could this be a trick? But if it's not, then I will be free of him forever, and then Madara won't use Kyuubi and my future life will be better. If I do this, then the future is change. Naruto, after debating a few more seconds, nods to himself and began walking into the cave. 20 minutes later, he soon came across a torch-filled room and thought, wonder how those torches are still working, since it looked like no one has been here for years. As he removed a spiderweb from his body, Kyuubi said, "There it is, Kit. Sign it and let's go outside to try it out." Naruto frowned and walked over to it and asked, "Are you sure about this, Kyuubi? I mean, I don't want Madara to get you and then ruin my life, but are you sure you want to die?" Kyuubi growled and said, "Boy, I hate you and you hate me. Neither of us want to see the other's face again, so hurry up." Naruto sighed and unrolled the scroll and blinked as there was only one name on it and thought, Inari, the god of futility and Kitsune. The name of a kami. as he bit his thumb and signed his name on the scroll and then placed his handprint on it. At that moment the cave glowed brightly and Kyuubi screamed, "No, this isn't supposed to happen. I was to be freed when the bond was broken, no." As he began to fade away, Naruto turned and saw him disappear, and he tensed as he felt something envelop him from behind, and a soft female voice said, "Be at peace, human. I mean you no harm. I am Inari." Naruto's eyes were wide and said, "Inari is in." The voice said, "Yes, Naruto. I am who you think I am. I have been waiting for you." Still holding him from behind as his eyes felt heavy as he could feel himself relaxing. Naruto asked, "Waiting for me, why?" Inari said, "Because you are special. I have watched over you since the day you were born and saw what has happened to you. You've been blessed by me even if you do not realize it. You were destined to change the world, but to do so you had to see the way the world was so you could change it for the better. That was why I allowed the Uchiha to first sign the contract to gain control of Kyuubi. I know the world suffered for it, but in the end you saw what would happen if the world was left as it was. You are still young and I know you do not understand, but someday you will." Naruto's eyes were closing and he asked, "But why me?" Inari whispered, "You will understand someday. For now sleep so I can show you something." As Naruto passed out on the floor and the torches in the room went out, Naruto found himself in a field full of flowers, and he blinked as he saw several people he knew from his life, and he felt Inari wrap her arms around him again from behind as the ones he saw came over, and Inari said, "Welcome to my home, Naruto. You are one of a few blessed to ever be here. Now as you can see there are several people from your life that you know here. The reason they are here is they are going to aid you in your new life. You see, none of them will ever be born. They all were originally born because of the Kyuubi attack on your village. People who would have gotten together now won't because you have changed the world. There is an old saying about a butterfly on one side of the world flapping its wings can cause a tsunami on the other side of the world. This is an example of that." Naruto heard Inari and he had tears in his eyes and asked, "But if they are never going to be born, then what will happen to them?" Inari said, "I am not a cruel kami, Naruto. I know how you feel for each of them and how they feel for you, so I offered them a choice and they agreed. The Kyuubi became arrogant with his position and power, and he turned his back on me, believing he was above me. He was foolish and will be punished. He tried to trick you earlier by changing history with you signing the contract. He expected you to cease to exist since the bond between you and him will disappear because he would never have attacked your village. He used your own fears and doubts against you, but I would not let that happen. You are precious to me, Naruto, as is all kitsunes." Naruto said, "But I am not a kitsune." Still looking at the people he knew as Inari held him from behind. Inari giggled and said, "You are more kitsune than you know, Naruto. Those marks on your face are not from Kyuubi. They are from my blessing of you and choosing you as one of mine so I may watch you and see that you were truly worthy. You will live out your life as you see fit, and when you pass on you will come here to be with your friends and family in my home to enjoy your well-deserved rest, but you will also become something more. I will wait until then to tell you what it is, but know that your eternity will not be the pain you felt as a child. You will only find love and happiness here. Now as for your friends here, I will explain what is to happen to them and the choice I gave them. You have signed the kitsune contract, which will become your family contract for as long as they live, so only you and your descendants may sign it. Now up till this point there has only been one kitsune in the summoning, and that was Kyuubi. I have taken your friends here and offered them to join you in eternity here, and they have agreed, and they and their families will aid you in yours by becoming your summon partners." Naruto's eyes were wide and he started to say something when Inari said, "Shish child, your worries and thoughts are not valid. I know you're worried about what will happen to them and if they get hurt, but do not worry. They are under my protection. Now as I said, they would not have been born now, but I allowed them to be reborn as kitsune. Here in this place they shall stay as you remember them, but when they are in the human world they will be in fox form. Now please step forward and tell him what you can do, my children." Naruto watched as they came forward, and the first one said, "Hello, Naruto." Naruto said, "Sakura-chan," as he choked on his words. Sakura smiled and said, "I know, Naruto, relax, I am happy here and have been here since the day I passed on. Inari has taken care of me and the others very well, and we can only wait for you to join us here. My mother met my father after Kyuubi passed through her village, destroying it on his way to Konoha. He was a merchant that came to help repair it. Without them ever meeting I was not born. I will be a healer Naruto when you summoned me. If you or someone is injured and need medical attention just use about enough chakra for a regular Rasengan and think my name and I shall come. I want you to live a long and happy life with no regrets and have many great adventures to tell us about and lots of little Narutos running around to annoy the future and you. As she turned into a two-tailed red kitsune before walking back to the others and changing back into herself. Naruto smiled sadly and the next figure stepped forward and Naruto asked, "But you were nowhere near Konoha so how could the Kyuubi have affected you Haku?" The person said, "It wasn't exactly the Kyuubi but Madara that affected me Naruto-kun. Remember, I came from the land of water and Madara was the Mizukage who started the bloodline purge. If it was not for that then my mother would never have went into hiding and I would never have been born. I am glad to hear and see that you took my words to heart Naruto-kun. Like Sakura I take about the same amount of chakra and I am a water, wind, and ice fox." As he changed into a two-tailed white fox and walked over to Sakura and changed back human and put his head on her shoulder wrapping his arms around her waist. Naruto smiled at that and the next person walked up and said, "I see the flames of youth burn brightly in you Naruto-kun." Naruto shook his head and said, "Something's never changed, do they Lee?" Lee smiled sadly and said, "And some things do. Unlike the others, I will be born innocent but never born. My mother was attacked by bandits on her way home to a nearby village a few months after the Kyuubi attack and was injured. Originally she died because of the injury but a medic Nin who was returning from a mission to help victims of the Kyuubi attack who were disfigured came across her in time to deliver me but since the medic won't be coming by I will die with my mother and yet never be born. I do not regret the choice I made to agree to be a kitsune. I will require about as much chakra as your sexy no jutsu and like the others think my name. I am a speed freak even now. I will be able to move as I was in life. I can deliver messages or items, and do some quick attacks." As he changed into a brown fox with green on its paws. Naruto snickered at that as Lee smiled and walked over to the other two and changed back. Naruto looked sad a little as he looked at them and then looked at the other four people. As the next person walked over he said, "Fate it seems is not without a sense of humor huh?" Naruto said, "Oh Fate has a sense of humor alright, she just has a weird way of displaying it Neji." Inari thought, "True." Neji said, "My fate is simple really. My father and mother did not want to comfort each other after the death of everyone who died because of Kyuubi and so I was not conceived. They would later have a daughter before my father died to save Hinata. I am a scout and can shut down some chakra holes and I require about as much chakra as your Kaden." Naruto saw as Neji changed into a gray fox and joined Lee, Sakura, and Haku. Naruto looked at the last three and thought, this should be interesting. The next person walked over and said, "Hello again Naruto-kun." Naruto said, "Hello to you as well Yakumo, how are you?" Yakumo nods and said, "I am good. Like Neji I was born when my clan tried to replace our numbers after the Kyuubi attack. Since there is no attack my parents later had a son instead of me. I am a genjutsu fox, ironic huh? I require as much chakra as a replacement and calling my name." As she changed into a brown fox and ran over and jumped into Lee's arms and Naruto thought, "Okay, did not see that pairing." Naruto saw the next person come over and he asked, "Do I even want to know?" The person said, "No but I am going to tell you anyways." Naruto said, "If you so much as mention the Teme name one time I will kick your red ass." The person said, "And I was sure that you would forgive little old me when you learned the truth." Naruto glared and said, "You tried to rape me to keep your cover. Then you tried to kill Sakura-chan. After that you stabbed Kiba." The person said, "Hey, the mud deserved it after he groped my ass and I told you I was sorry besides. I always have a thing for a guy with large chakra reserves and as for Sakura. I didn't hit anything vital." Sakura snorts and said, "I lost one of my ovaries bitch." The person said, "You know you love me cousin." Naruto said, "Alright Karen, what's your story?" Karen said, "Yeah. Well my story basically the same as hers except my mom was her aunt and mom left after the attack to start over and came to Konoha where she met up with Danzo and agreed to make me a test tube baby my bloodline he got a sample somewhere for. Jiraiya-sama saved me and put me in his spy network where I eventually got into Orochimaru circle as best as I could but since mom never went to Konoha, no me. As for what I am, infiltration. I can shapeshift to spy for short periods of time. As she turned into a red fox and walked over and rubbed against Neji's leg. Naruto said, "Oh. Okay, well I am dying to hear." The person walked forward and said, "I'm replacing Kyuubi as the boss summon, give me Pocky and you won't get hurt." Inari said, Itachi, they don't make Pocky yet." Itachi makes a scroll appear and quickly writes on it before he handed Naruto a scroll and said, "This is the recipe for Pocky. Do not summon me without a box of Pocky, do you understand?" Naruto looked at his friend for help and Inari, who was still holding him from behind, said, "Sorry Naruto-kun. I actually wanted to get Zabuza as the new Kyuubi, but he's currently fighting in a tournament to see who is the most badass swordsman ever. Shinigami gave me Itachi here as part of the group package." Itachi found out they had a forbidden Pocky tree in the afterlife and he sort of went ape shit on those who were worshipping it because they would not move so he could get to it. Turns out the real reason he killed his best friend in the first place was because he ate the last of Itachi Pocky. Basically he's your boss summon, he will appear the size of Kyuubi and he can use fire attacks and mind fuck anyone who's stupid enough to look into his eyes with his genjutsu. Naruto looked at Itachi and said, "Right welcome aboard, glad to have you. Any specific flavor?" As he began to sweat, Itachi said, "I am to Pocky as you are to ramen, you don't have it I will go medieval on your ass." Naruto's sweat dropped and said, "Right, Itachi. No offense but you're actually scarring me a little bit." Itachi turned and walked away and said, "Do not forget my Pocky." As he disappeared onto the field, Sakura said, "Don't worry, he is that way with all of us. We are thinking about putting up a sign that says does not play well with others and give him his own little section." Naruto said, "Yeah, might be a good idea. Now I just need to find someone to make Pocky." Inari said, "Well, as much fun as it has been having you here Naruto, it is about time for you to go back. Before you go though I must tell you that things are not as you remember hearing about them as. Madara has not done anything wrong as of yet and may never, so you can't hate him for anything yet. Tsunade is not the Tsunade you know. She is still young and has not faced the heartache that the one you knew had known. Do not tell anyone that you're from the future. If they ask, you are just a nomad whose home was destroyed, which was true in a sense. What you do now is your choice. You have your summons and you have your skills and yourself to rely on. Do what you think is best and don't try to change the world. Just live, the world will change itself. Goodbye." As Naruto fell asleep again. When Naruto awoke he found himself in the darkened temple and saw the scroll he had signed before was now gone. He got up and left the temple and stretched a little before he felt a gentle touch around his neck and he looked down and went wide-eyed seeing the Shodem's necklace and he looked at it and saw that it was changed and now had a fox inside of it and he smiled and thought, "Thank you Inari." As he started to make his way toward Konoha. 3 days later Naruto was nearing Konoha when he stopped and looked around him and thought, "That's strange. I know I just felt a surge of chakra for a moment almost as if." As he looked at the trees before changing directions. He soon arrived on a road and saw a genin team and saw the Junin was dead with a kunai in his head and saw an Iwa nin bringing a kunai down on a girl about 12 years old with black hair and wearing a blue dress with red shorts underneath who had her eyes closed in fear, cowering. Naruto quickly replaced the girl with a log and the Iwa nin said, "Replacement." As he looked around removing the stabbed kunai from the log. The girl who Naruto had replaced was now under one of his arms and he looked over and saw 2 other Konoha genin by their headbands and said, "Oi, dipshit 1, dipshit 2. You're Konoha nins, not little coward, catch your teammate while I deal with these 3. As he held the girl by her pants over his head and threw her at the 2 boys who were looking shocked only for all 3 to crash hard into the ground. The nin from before asked, "Who are you?" As 2 ninja appeared on the limbs on both sides of him and both were wearing Iwa headband. Naruto said, "Dead men don't need to know my name, so why are you attacking the kiddies?" One asked, "None of your business dead man." As he finished the hand signs he was making and said, "Earth style, Earth Dragon Jutsu." As a dragon of earth rose out of the ground and charged at Naruto. Naruto yawned and jumped on the head of the dragon, running down it, shocking everyone as he charged toward the one who tried to kill the girl pulling a kunai. But then as he jumped off the dragon to stab the man, he quickly threw the kunai at a spot 20 feet away, and the nen he was about to land on disappeared and a log appeared where he was, but Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke and the kunai he threw landed on the ground beside the log, and he appeared right where the log originally was before it was used as a replacement, which was where he threw the kunai toward, and he did a leg sweep of the shocked man who had replaced himself, and as the man fell grabbed him by the neck, slamming him neck first in the ground, crushing his windpipe. Before anyone could say anything, 10 kunai stabbed him in the back, only for him to go up in a puff of smoke as well. Just then Naruto burst out of the ground with a haymaker to the second Iwa Nin's groin, making him scream out in pain as he covered himself, but Naruto then grabbed him, spinning the man to get behind him, and snapped his neck. The third Iwa Nin was already flashing through hand signs, and he turned toward the 3 genins and he said, "Earth style, 4-sided coffin." As 4 slabs of earth formed around the 3 and began to crash down on them. Naruto, acting quickly, dashed under the 4 slabs of earth, forming a Rasengan in each hand, and slammed them into the slabs above his head, destroying the wall and sending the dirt into the air. As the dirt disappeared, Naruto was panting a little and asked, "Are you 3 alright?" As he looked around the area, one boy with sandy brown hair wearing a gray and blue shirt looked up and said in a stutter voice, "Yeah. Who are you?" Naruto looked at the 3 and his eyes locked on the kid who spoke, or more specifically on what was on his neck, and he said, "The name's Naruto, what's yours, kid?" The boy said, "I'm Nawaki Senju, and these are my teammate Choco Kobo and Dango Sake." Pointing to the girl as Choco and a brown-haired boy with brown eyes all about the same age as Dango. Naruto blinked at the names and said, "I see, I take it the guy over there was your sensei." Pointing with his head, Nawaki said, "Yeah, this was our first mission out of the village." Is he dead?" Naruto said, "If he's not dead, he isn't happy." Trying to cheer the kids up. He sighed seeing it didn't work and said, "Yeah, that was a fatal hit. The third Iwa Nin got away, so he can't stay here too long." "What was your mission?" Nawaki asked. "I don't know if I should tell you. You could be a spy or something." Naruto said, "Smart kid. Well, whatever it was is over now. You all 3 have a new mission. Look around the area for anything that looks like it might not belong here, like a piece of paper or maybe a scroll or a kunai or anything like that, and bring it to me. I will seal up the bodies of your teacher and those 2 Iwa Nins and escort you all back to Konoha." By this time Dango had recovered and asked, "Why should we trust you?" Naruto said, "You shouldn't, but what chance do you think you will have if I leave your asses here and could kill those 2 that easily? You're 3 scared shit genin who just had your first taste of combat, your sensei dead, and odds are you can't find your way out of a paper bag, so either you listen to me and follow my orders or I leave your asses." Nawaki quickly said, "We will follow your orders." Naruto said, "Good, now move." As both boys got busy working, Naruto looked at the girl and said, "That means you also." The girl looked down and said, As Naruto smelled something and took a closer look at the girl and sighed and thought, "Great." And making a decision, he bit his thumb and flashed through some hand signs and slammed his hand on the ground and thought, "Sakura." As a puff of smoke appeared, a 2-tailed red fox appeared and looked around and said, "That was quick, you already need my help, Baka." Naruto said, Yeah, good to see you again, Sakura, but I got a problem that needs a woman touch." As he looked at the girl, Sakura looked at the girl catching the scent that had caught Naruto and said, "Damn Naruto, you usually only do that to people who can fight back." Naruto said, "Hardy har har. A genin team got jumped by 3 Iwa Nins. They're sensei toast and I'm taking them back to Konoha, check out shades." Sakura looked around, recognizing the code word to look at the direction the shadows were facing, and her eyes locked on the form of Nawaki and then the necklace he was wearing, and got wide a moment and said, "I see. Is that?" Naruto nods and looked at the girl who was fidgeting and said, "Look girl, I know you're scared and everything about almost dying, but that was almost. You need to pull yourself together and move because you're still alive. Now I want you to go over to those trees over there with my summon and get that wound treated. I don't want you to get re-injured later or get an infection." Earning a smile from Sakura for trying to help save the girl from embarrassment. The girl looked at him wide-eyed, realizing what he did, and mouthed, "Thank you," as she turned and went into the woods with Sakura. Nawaki came over and Naruto quickly stood in front of the woods blocking his view, and Nawaki asked, What wound? I didn't see her get hurt, and what was with that fox? Naruto said, that was one of my summons and the girl had a small wound on her leg. I am trained to notice things like that, but you're not trained yet. Return to your duties, Genin. Nawaki said, hey, what makes you boss? Naruto showed him his hiat on his belt and said, I outrank you. Nawaki was wide-eyed and said, right, sorry about that, sir. Having been trained by his family to show respect to those of higher rank as he returned to work. Naruto created a cage bunshin who began to seal the three bodies. A few minutes later Sakura walked back out of the woods with Choco and said, I checked her out and got that wound cleaned up and she ready to go, but her reserves are like mine when we first teamed up. Naruto blinked and said, I see. Thank you for coming, Sakura. I know this wasn't what you were expecting. Sakura said, no problem, Naruto. I am very happy to help and see you understand woman finally. If you need us, don't wait until you're half dead to call. We are a team, Naruto. We always will be a team. Now go get lost on the road of life or something. Naruto had to laugh and said, maybe. Miss you. Sakura smiled and said, CYA later. As she went up in smoke. The two boys walked over and asked, are you okay, Choco? Choco said, yes. Sakura was very helpful. As her cheeks turned red a little. Nawaki said, yeah, I can't even see a scar or anything. As he looked her over. Choco blushed redder and said, I don't have any scars. Naruto cleared his throat and said, are you done? Both boys nod and show a few weapons and a scroll, and Naruto took the scroll seeing it was still sealed and opened it and read it before he asked, where did you find this? Dango said, it was over there in the woods tied to a tree. Why? Naruto pocketed the scroll and said, nothing. Let's go. As the cage bunshin brought a scroll over with the three bodies and he pocketed it also and began to walk toward Konoha with the three genin following. About 20 minutes later Nawaki asked, hey, how come I don't recognize you? I mean, I know there are a lot of ninja in Konoha that I don't know, but there are not that many blondes, so you should stick out. Naruto looked over his shoulder and said, that's a secret. If the Hokage allows it I will tell you later, okay? All three genin looked confused and Choco asked, why can't you tell us? Naruto said, a ninja life is deception and secrets. I have many secrets that I don't want to tell about and you must learn to accept that. Nawaki asked, how did you get a fox summoning? I've never heard of it before. Naruto frowned a moment and said, it's my family summoning and nobody knows I have it. I ask all three of you not to tell anyone about it because I want to keep it a secret. Not even the Hokage knows about it. Dango said, but doesn't your family know you have it? Naruto said, my family is dead. Shocking all three. A few minutes later Nawaki asked, how did you beat those guys so fast back there? Naruto said, it was just two chunin and a junin and they underestimated me because of my age, but the junin got away. Choco asked, how old are you? Naruto said, 17. Dango asked, what's your last name, Naruto? Naruto said, I rather not say. Tell me, what skills do you three have? I mean, what did your sensei teach you? Changing the subject. Nawaki said, he taught us all three the leaf balancing and Kaden. Phoenix Fireball Jutsu, target practicing and how to improve our taijutsu. Naruto nods and asked, what else? All three looked confused and Dango asked, what do you mean what else? Naruto actually stopped walking and looked back at them and said, I know you're in a clan Nawaki, but are the other two also? Both shook their head no, and he asked, do you have ninja parents? Dango said, no, besides the clans everyone who just came out of the academy this year is from non-ninja family. Don't you know that? Naruto asked, do you know the basic three? All three looked confused and Naruto slapped his head and said, Nawaki, when we get to Konoha I am killing your grandfather. As he began to walk toward the village, Nawaki got fear in his face and screamed, no, you can't. As he ran and grabbed Naruto's arm. Naruto looked at him and shook his head and placed his hand on Nawaki's head and said, it is just me running my mouth. I won't kill him, but you three should not have been sent on a mission outside of the village. You are all three poorly trained. Nawaki said, but we were the top 3 students in our class. Naruto looked up at the sky and said, Kami, help us, how the hell did we survive? As he looked back down and said, all right. Do you three know all 12 of the hand signs? All three nod and Naruto said, good, for the next hour I do not want you to say a word. I want you to walk in a triangle around me with Nawaki starting in front, Dango on the left and Choco on the right. You will walk while practicing your hand signs, going through all 12 over and over again, trying to go faster each time. If you mess up you have to say the word, right. And all three of you will have to switch places, with Dango going where Choco was, Choco to where Nawaki was, and Nawaki to where Dango was. Do not lie about messing up or I will punish you. Every time that Nawaki makes it back in front of me will count as 1 point. By the time we get to Konoha, every point you have will be 1 hour of running from the Hokage Mountain to Training Ground 1. However, I will be timing you from your starting speed on the hand signs, and if all three of you can decrease your 12 hand signs to less than 5 seconds, I will teach you a jutsu that will make you stronger and make you better ninja. Do you all three understand? All three looked at each other and Nawaki asked, "Why are you telling us all this, Naruto?" Naruto said, "Until the Hokage says otherwise, that is Naruto-sensei to you, genin." All three eyes lighted up and Choco asked, "Are you really going to be our new sensei?" Naruto said, "If the Hokage will let me. Now let's go, get in formation and begin, and don't stop walking. You need to learn to multitask and keep an eye on your surroundings as well." As he began to walk. 4 hours later the gates of Konoha came into view, and as they arrived at the gates and there were 3 people standing at the gates, and Naruto eye twitched and thought, "Never thought I see the day Gigi did gate duty or see those 2 bastards young." As he looked at the second man who was standing there and thought, that's definitely Kaharu, and that means that is Hamaru. Kaharu looked at Naruto and asked, "What do you want and why are you with those 3? Naruto said, "Hello to you also. You know you should be more respectful in greeting people at the gates. They could be new allies or clients." Kaharu glared and Izoran Sarutobi said, "That may be true, but you still have not answered the question." Naruto said, "True, but shouldn't you also give your name before asking for others?" Sarutobi asked, "Only if you are giving proper respect, not when you're entering a village." Naruto started to say something when a voice from behind him said, "Strange, to think I would make that kind of mistake. Hello Nawaki, Dango, Choco, who's your friend?" Making Naruto turned and noticed not only the Naidame but the Shodem Hokage. Naruto bowed and said, "It is an honor to meet you both, Hashirama and Tobirama Senju. I have heard many great things about both of you. My name is Naruto and I wish to speak with both of you privately. This genin team was attacked on their mission and their sensei is dead. I have his body and 2 bodies of the Iwa nins that attacked them, but sadly the third got away before I could stop him. There is more to it, but I would request that it be private. These 3 also could use a little rest from what happened as well as from the journey back." As he locked eyes with both men and the 3 genin looked confused. Tobirama looked at his brother who nods, and Hashirama said, "Very well, but I want all questions I asked answered." Just then a ninja arrived in a shushin and Naruto locked eyes on the person and growled a little, catching everyone's attention, and he shook his head and said, "Sorry about that. I had a bad encounter with someone who looks like him in the past, but that mon's dead." Tobirama asked, "What do you want, Madara?" Madara Uchiha looked around and said, "I was patrolling the village and I detected something in the area I thought I would inspect, though I do not know what it was." Naruto saw Hashirama looking at him and he said, "I believe it has something to do with our young friend here." Naruto said, "Perhaps it is my bloodline." Thinking quickly, though everyone looked at him. Madara asked, "You have a bloodline?" Naruto said, "Yes, but I rather wait to speak with the Hokage privately about what it does, because I am the first in my family to have it as far as I know, but some people claim it has a unique feel to it." Madara narrowed his eyes and Hashirama said, "Well, let's get to my office and we can talk there." Naruto was it. Naruto nods and began to walk through the gates toward the village, earning a look from both brothers. They soon came to a circle 1-story building and entered into it, and then a private office in the back, and before Naruto could even blink the Raijin was at his neck while he was being held to the wall by roots. Tobimera asked, "Now talk. What happened to that team and who are you?" Naruto sighed and said, "You have no need to restrain me. I do not wish to cause any trouble. I was on my way to Konoha when I felt a chakra spike and I went to investigate and discovered 3 Iwa nins with the sensei to those 3 already dead, and they were preparing to finish them off when I saved them. I took out 2 of them, but the third one targeted the kids and I had to save them, giving him a chance to escape. After he was gone, I got the kids to follow my orders by using a Konoha Hiat to make them believe I was a ninja of your village to look around the area for anything suspicious while I sealed up the bodies since they were shaken up. They found a scroll that was supposed to be found with their bodies from the Tsuchikage to you Hokage-sama. I admit I read the scroll but did not inform the genin about it so they won't be scared even more. Apparently he wanted to send a message that Iwa wants Konoha to pay a tribute to them or they are going to kill more Konoha shinobi. The fact your grandson was on the mission does not appear to have been known at the time the scroll was written. I then began to lead them here to ensure their protection and I asked them about their education and I found that it was weak, so I gave them a small drill on the way here to help increase their teamwork as well as learning to watch their surroundings while increasing their hand sign speeds and reduce mistakes. Both men blinked and looked at him and Hashirama asked, "Where did you get a Konoha Hiat?" Naruto said, "It belonged to my father. At least that was what my godfather informed me of when he was training me before he passed away, but I can't be for sure if it actually was or not." Hashirama asked, "What is your bloodline?" Naruto frowned and said, "It's not exactly sure if it is a bloodline. I have heightened senses as well as advanced healing and I also have this weird second chakra." Both men blinked and Tobirama asked, "What do you mean by second chakra?" Naruto said, "Just that. My normal chakra is blue but then I got this other chakra that is red. I asked about it as I was growing but everyone would turn away and ignore me. There was a lot of things about me my village would not tell me. For the first 7 years of my life I never even know who my parents were. My village also treated me as a black sheep for some reason. As best as I could tell it was because I was born on October 10th, the day of mourning, but no one ever would tell me what the day of mourning was about. My godfather when I asked him would leave me wherever we were and go to a bar and get drunk and go to a brothel for about a week leaving me to fend for myself. The only thing he ever told me about it was don't go looking into the past, live for the future." Hashirama looked and thought a moment and walked over to his bookcase and pulled out book and flipped through the pages and said, "So what's your connection to Kyuubi, Jinchuriki?" Naruto closed his eyes and sighed as he looked down and asked, "How did you know?" Tobirama said, "Too much information and the fact we faced Biju before so we researched them and so when you mentioned red chakra you gave which one away." Naruto said, "Most of what I said was true to you both. My parent both died the day I was born, the day Kyuubi attacked my village. My mother went into labor and my father delivered me but because of complications my mother passed away. My father was the leader of our village and he used a forbidden jutsu to summon the Shinigami and sealed the Kyuubi into me at the cost of his life. Because he did not go face the Kyuubi at the beginning of the attack and because of me holding it my village for the most part hated me and made my life hell. I was an orphan because no one would adopt me and I lived on the streets from the time I was 4 until 7 when my godfather returned to the village and he took me away to train. The first place we went was a temple. It was there that a ritual was performed on me. I don't remember what it was they did or what happened but instead of having the full power of the Kyuubi in me I only had half his chakra and I also had the summoning contract for kitsunes. I don't know what happened to the Kyuubi who attacked my village but he was replaced with another kitsune who became the new Kyuubi and is my boss summon. He nothing like the stories of the other Kyuubi I heard about." Hashirama asked, "What was the name of your village?" Naruto thinking quickly said, "Oto in Spring Country." Both brothers blinked and Tobirama asked, "Where?" Naruto said, "Spring Country." Hashirama said, "I never heard of it." Naruto said, "Because it doesn't exist any longer. We were a small country to begin with, only 20 square miles, and Oto was the only village in the country. After my grandfather passed away when I was 13 I returned to it and discovered my country was ruined. There was only one river running through our country and someone poisoned the entire river. It killed the plants, the animals, and the people. When I returned there it was like a ghost town. The bodies were nearly completely decomposed. I went through the village looking for anything to tell me what happened or who did it and all I found was the leader who took over after my father at his desk dead with his journal there on the desk. I read the last entry he put on it and he talked about a group of men who offered my village a choice to join them or pay the price of resistance. They wore black cloaks with red clouds and called themselves Akatsuki. Tobirama looked confused a moment and said, "Red Dawn, that's..." Naruto's eyes got wide and said excitedly, "You know them, tell me who they are please. Where can I find them, please tell me." Tobirama shook his head and said, "They're dead. If it's the same people I am thinking about, they were wiped out about 0.5 years ago." Looking at Hashirama, Hashirama said, "The timeline would fit about right. It would mean they probably poisoned themselves with whatever they used to poison his village." Naruto sighed and said, "Then they can rest in peace now, since no one can ever disturb their graves and the ones who killed them were brought to justice." Solemnly, Hashirama asked, "What do you mean?" Naruto said, "After I read the Otokage journal, I buried the bodies as best as I could, and I looked for all the jutsu scrolls one could find in the village to make myself stronger so I could bring Akatsuki to justice, and then I used one of the jutsu my godfather taught me, Doten no Mi Yuma, swamp of the underworld, to bury the village, so if Akatsuki ever returned they couldn't rob the village or even find it. Since then I've been living off the land as much as possible to train myself, and only go to a village long enough to do a few jobs to get cloths and supplies like that before leaving to train some more. I thought if I could come here where my father was supposed to have been originally from, then I could become a ninja here and at least have a place to search for them to bring them to justice so the world could know what they did and decide their punishment." Hashirama asked, "What was your father's name?" Naruto said, "The only name my godfather ever called him was Namikaze. He never told me the first name for him or my mother's first name." Tobirama blinked and said, "Do you know if he had any other family, Naruto?" Naruto said, "As far as I know, no. Like I said, my village for the most part didn't like me for Kyuubi and would not tell me anything if they could keep from it. I was hoping I could pass it off as a bloodline so nobody here would hate me for it." Hashirama walked over to Naruto and he said, "Interesting," as he pulled out the fox necklace and said, "It seems mine isn't as rare as I thought it was. Do you know what this is?" Naruto said, "Yeah, it's a focusing crystal that helps me to control the chakra of the Kyuubi that is inside of me. I have already absorbed 3 taels worth, but I am having trouble with the last tael and a half. My coils are already huge, and since I am already 17 they have started to harden." Hashirama asked, "Where did you get it?" Naruto said, "I got it at the temple I was taken to by my godfather. I don't know where it was, besides it was on an island about 2 weeks out to sea." Hashirama nods and said, "Most likely one of the lost temples of Inari. So since you have no need for revenge." Naruto quickly said, "Justice, not revenge. Revenge is when you want to get even with a person who has wronged you. Justice is bringing those who have done wrong to be judged for their crimes. I was never an avenger." Hashirama smiled a little at this as he faced away from Naruto and said, "Well, now that you need for justice is over, what do you plan?" Naruto was silent for a moment and said, "That depends on you." Tobirama asked, "What do you mean?" Naruto asked, "I mean, are you going to tell everyone about me being a Jinchuriki? I've had my share of fear and hatred for something I never did. I don't want to face that again if I can keep from it." Hashirama said, "No, I don't see any reason to. I know that if word got out about an actual Jinchuriki, that the other villages will try to use the biju they have to make one themselves." Naruto said, "Not a smart move on your part then when war is coming." Hashirama looked at him and asked, "War, what war?" Naruto gave him a deadpan look and said, "The one your grandson almost died to help fund. Why do you think he is trying to make you give them a tribute? I can tell you from what I saw, a war is coming. The other countries are storing more resources than they usually do and are increasing their training while pressuring smaller villages to pay for their protection or doing raids. It's like they're waiting on a flashpoint to start it. Something that will start what could be a great shinobi war." Hashirama frowned and said, "So you have seen this with your own eyes?" Naruto said, "A little. Like I said, I tried to stay out of the way as much as possible the last few years to get stronger, but yeah, I seen enough to know what's going on." Tobirama said, "So the intel is right." Hashirama said, "Yeah, we need to start preparing ourselves. So what about you, Naruto? What are your plans?" Naruto said, "Well, I sort of told that team I would be their sensei until you said otherwise. I mean, they only know one chakra control exercise and one elemental jutsu, and they don't even know the basic 3. If that is the standard of genin, I hope there is a surplus of body bags because they're all dead. I fought bandits with more training than that." Hashirama frowned a moment and asked, "How good are you?" Naruto said, "At least high chunin to low junin, though I think I am actually higher than that. I usually tried to keep from situations where word about me would draw attention to me." As the roots holding him on the wall uncoiled and he dissolved into sand and a puff of smoke was heard across the room and a plant in the corner turned into Naruto. Tobirama said, "So you never were trapped." Naruto said, "Give me some credit. I walk into the village where there are two bloodlines who could detect the Kyuubi chakra with the grandson of the cage like it was nothing. I knew the moment you appeared behind me talking about a mistake that I would either have at least an interrogation and at worst have to fight my way out of the village. By the way, the security around the village sucks. The 3 patrol teams you got outside of the village are moving in a Sharingan pinwheel pattern with teams of 2 who can't even suppress their own chakra or know the definition of stealth." Hashirama smirked and said, "And yet you chose to come into the village knowing all that." Naruto said, "I may have been an idiot when I was younger, but after seeing everything precious to you dead you grow up real quick. I may have been hated in my village, but I did have people I care for deeply and would die for. If I would have made a run for it, then you would have had every ninja in the village after me, would have interrogated those 3 kids and found out about my summon, and then I would have had a page in the bingo book that would make the rest of my life hell. The only option I had to ever have a chance for a new life was to come in and either tell the truth or—" Hashirama said, "Or try to give a half-truth hoping that we never found out." Naruto nods and Hashirama said, "All right. All information about you being a Jinchuriki will remain a secret between the 3 of us." Naruto said, "Not even Sarutobi will know." Naruto saw both look at each other and Naruto said, "Information is power, and I heard that you both been grooming him to be the Sandaime later for years, but I also heard someone named Danzo was wanting the position as well, but Sarutobi will get it eventually." Hashirama eyed Naruto a moment and said, "You have good information." "No, Sarutobi will not find out about it. It will be listed as a possible new bloodline, but please refrain from using the actual chakra as much as possible. Hopefully you can absorb the last tail of power and not have to worry about it. Now as for your history. If asked, I will have to tell that you are from Spring Country before it was destroyed by a natural disaster, but I will not tell anything else about it." Naruto said, "Well, what about a job?" Hashirama smirked and said, "All right. I will accept you as a ninja, but I cannot claim your rank on your word alone. We will have to test you." Naruto said, "That's fine. If I am going to be given an honest chance here and not be treated as a demon or a weapon, then I will show that I am worthy of the trust you are giving me, and I will make Konoha and its people my new precious people and protect it with everything I have, because only when you are protecting what is precious to you will you find true strength." With strong conviction in his voice, Tobirama said, "I be damned. The boy is a poster child for the will of fire." Hashirama said, "Very. Did you hear about that in your information as well?" Naruto said, "No, a missing nin told me that when he befriended me when I was younger. He later sacrificed himself to save his master after their employer double-crossed them. That is one of 3 nindos I have lived by. The other 2 are those who don't follow the rules or trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, and the last one is I never go back on my word." Hashirama said, "Those are some very good nindo to live by. Now if you don't mind, may I have those scrolls you told me about earlier?" Naruto hands him the 3 scrolls and Hashirama said, "Brother, take him to the guest house on our land and have someone bring him some food. Tomorrow we will test you on your skills, and if you are as good as you claim I will allow you to take over training team 2. Naruto asked, "Is that the team I brought in?" Hashirama said, "Yes." And Naruto nods with a small smile on his face and followed Tobirama out of the office, and Hashirama thought, That boy is different, but I can't tell he means any harm even if he was not telling the entire truth. I wonder if he is related to him though." As Naruto followed Tobirama, he asked, "Can you tell me anything about who I might be facing tomorrow?" Tobirama said, "I don't know yet. You will have to wait until tomorrow." As he smiles and nods to a few people as they walk through the street. Naruto nods as well and notice a few women look him up and down, and he asked, "So now that we are away from your brother, what do you honestly think of me?" Tobirama said, "I don't trust you. I won't until you prove that you can be trusted. It's not because of your bloodline either. It's just the timing and your appearance to save my grandnephew is a little too convenient." Naruto said, "I see. Can you tell me a little about this village? I mean, where can I get supplies and how do I go about getting a place for myself?" Tobirama said, "We will worry about that after your evaluation tomorrow. For now you are to stay at the house that we are letting you use. Consider it house arrest for now." Naruto snorts and said, Fine, but you will see that I am not as bad as you're afraid of. Hell, you might even someday call me a friend. Tobirama looked at him and said, we will have to see about that. Naruto growled again and said, hello Uchiha. As he turned and looked at the roof behind him. Tobirama also turned and saw Madara there, and Madara said, I am impressed you could detect me. Naruto said, I am surprised you can actually see me. Making Madara eyes wide a moment. Tobirama asked, what do you need, Madara? Madara said, I just wanted to find out about our guest. Tobirama said, well, why don't you come by Training Ground 7 tomorrow around 10 a.m. Naruto here has asked to join our village after his country fell to a natural disaster, and so we are going to see what rank he should be. Madara said, I believe I will, though I hadn't heard of any natural disaster. What country you from? Naruto said, Spring Country. Madara blinked and said, I never heard of it. Tobirama said, really, Hashirama and myself been there before it was destroyed, pretty place. I was actually saddened to hear about its destruction. Naruto kept the smirk of his face, and Madara said, I see, it is a shame then that I never got to see it then. I am looking forward to seeing your evaluation tomorrow. Naruto said, I promise you, it will be something you will have to see to believe. With a smirk, Madara glared and said, farewell Naruto. I am afraid I didn't catch your family name. Naruto said, I didn't give it. I only give it to those who I trust and who trust me. Perhaps someday I might tell you, but I am tired from today's events, and Senju-sama here was showing me where I can stay until my evaluation. Tobirama said, right Naruto, follow me, good day Madara. As he began to lead Naruto away. After they left, Madara narrowed his eyes and he thought, I will show you to respect me, boy. After Naruto and Tobirama was away from Madara, he turned and asked, what's your problem? Naruto said, every Uchiha I have ever met have had one thing in common. They all think they are superior to everyone, and their thirst for power and revenge is dangerous to themselves and everyone around them. I faced all 5 levels of that cursed bloodline before, and I have to say that I prefer a Hyuga over an Uchiha any day, and the Hyuga enslave half their family, and I dislike slavery, so you can guess where they rank in my book. Tobirama shook his head and then blinked at something and asked, 5. But there is only 4 levels to the Sharingan. Naruto said, you're wrong, there is a 5th level and it comes at almost as big a price as the 4th level. Tobirama stopped and looked at Naruto and asked, do you know how the Uchiha get the Magna-Q Sharingan? Naruto grabbed his shirt and pulled it up, showing the wound near his heart, and said, yeah, I do. As he dropped it back down, Tobirama looked around and said, follow me. As he quickly led away from the main street out toward the woods. Naruto followed, and soon they came to a clearing in the woods, and he said, all right. This is part of my clan property and no one else will come here, so spill. What do you know about the Sharingan? Naruto said, I know that the only way to activate the damn thing is to put yourself in danger where you honestly expect to die. Then you progress up to 3 tomas with facing stronger and faster enemies. The 4th level is obtained by feeling guilt over killing someone precious to you like your best friend, and the 5th level is obtained by, as he shut up. Tobirama said, yes, what is it? Looking extremely interested. Naruto said, no, I will not tell you that because even here I can't be sure that someone can't hear. The price for it is as bad as the 4th, but with it comes abilities that makes a Biju look weak. I only know of one person who has ever obtained that level of Sharingan, and after he obtained it he slaughtered everyone in his clan and his village except a pair of brothers. He kept them around in case he ever needed to replace the eyes he had. In the end the brothers turned on each other trying to get enough power for revenge, and that scar you saw on my chest was where the younger one tried to gain the Magna-Q to catch up to his brother in strength. In the end the older brother allowed the younger to kill him together me, and the younger brother took out the one who had the 5th level, but the cost was someone I considered a friend giving his life to kill his own great-grandfather. Yeah, he tried to kill me to gain the Magna-Q, but I still considered him my friend, so I ask. Please respect my wish to never reveal the secret to the 5th level. Hopefully the Uchiha in this village will not take the same road as the ones I met before. Tobirama said, you do realize that by taunting Madara you are probably making him your enemy. A very dangerous one. Naruto said, if what I hear about Madara is right, I fear that he will discover the secret to the 5th level and everyone around him will pay the price for it. With blindness taking over he is going to become dangerous. Tobirama blinked and asked, blindness? What are you talking about? Naruto said, "Power comes at a price. No matter what, it always comes at a price. Yes, you have to kill your best friend to reach the 4th level, but every time you use either of the special abilities that come with that level, that eye becomes weaker and weaker until darkness is all you see. That is the greatest fear of any dujutsu, is blindness, and the more he uses it the more dangerous he will become, and in the end I fear he will be the one to obtain the 5th. Tobirama shook his head and said, "You know more about the Uchiha than anyone outside of my brother and the Uchiha themselves." Naruto said, "Yeah, you have to when you got friends like I had." Tobirama smiled and said, "Come on, let's go get you settled in." As he led Naruto away, a bird sitting on a branch nearby flew into the air and began to fly away, only for a blade of wind to slice its head off and the bird body fall to the ground below. A cage-bun Shin walked over and looked at the bird and said, "So, the Raven contract goes back this far, huh? Sorry, but I can't let that info get out." As he went up in smoke, the bird on the ground slowly dissolved into chakra and disappeared, never to be seen again. Naruto shook his head when he got the memories from the clone and thought, curiosity killed the cat Madara. Good thing I can detect chakra up to a mile thanks to my sage training. They soon arrived to a small cottage and Tobirama said, "This is where you will be staying. Do not leave sight of this cabin and someone will bring you something to eat a little later. The cottage has hot water so you can take a shower and relax if you want." Naruto said, "Thank you. This will be better than I stayed in a long time," and thought, a very long time. As he walked in and looked around the place, he saw a small table with 4 chairs and a couch and 2 bedrooms and a bath and thought, nice place. As he walked into the bathroom and unsealed some cloths and began to take a shower. When he stepped out he detected a chakra signature approaching and he slipped on a pair of sweatpants and walked out of the bathroom and found a brownish-black hair woman with brown eyes looking at him and he said, "Hello." The woman shook her head and said, "Hello, I am Tuka Senju. My uncle said that you were here and for me to bring you something to eat." Naruto said, "Pleasure, the name's Naruto. I am sorry for any inconvenience I may have caused." The woman smiled and said, "If I may ask, where did you get that?" Pointing to the scar near Naruto's heart. Naruto looked at it and said, "Someone I once thought of as the closest thing to a brother I ever had did it when he betrayed me and all our friends." As he looked and thought, Tuka said, "I see. Well, I must be going. Just wash the dishes and place them on the rack when you're done and I will pick them up tomorrow when I come to get breakfast. I want to tell you one thing though. Thank you for saving my son today." Naruto blinked and blinked again and said, "Your Nawaki mother." Tuka said, "Yes, though it's hard to tell it since his hair is a lot lighter than my own." Naruto said, "Must have gotten it from his father." Tuka smiled sadly and said, "Actually no, his father is nearly the same shade of hair that I have." Naruto blinked and said, "Ah, I see. Are you a senju by blood or marriage if I may ask?" Tuka asked, "Why?" Naruto said, "Well, I have met several clans in my travel and some have customs that and beliefs that I find distasteful and I was wondering if the Senju clan was like the Hyuga clan or." Tuka asked, "Ah, so you're trying to be polite and ask if we inbreed?" Naruto said, Yeah." Tuka said, "No we don't and I'm married into the clan. If you would like I could give you a little history on our clan to help you out." Naruto said, "I would like that if you don't mind. I've had a bad habit of stepping on toes and pissing off clans before by not knowing their history and beliefs or not caring depending on what the situation was." Tuka asked, "Really, how many?" Naruto thought a moment and said, 49. Tuka blinked and blinked again and asked, "Can you tell me a few?" Naruto said, Hyuga, Uchiha, Gama, Inazuka, Fuma, Kamizaru to name a few. Tuka asked, "What did you do to piss them off?" As she sat down looking interested. Naruto sat down also on the other end of the couch and said, "Well, I told the Hyuga to take that caged bird seal and shove it up their ass, that you shouldn't treat family as slaves. The Uchiha. Let's just say that I have an entire fighting style that makes an Uchiha look like a civilian because they can't copy my jutsu or predict most of my moves and I have a bad habit of taunting them with those facts. The Gama clan. Well, I don't drink very often and most of them consider deals should only be completed while getting drunk. The Inazuka. I learned on accident the best way to beat them is to mess up their sense of smell and so I always carry a small little bottle in a scroll that has the scent of cat urine and spray it on them whenever I can. The Fuma clan. Did you know that it is illegal to see a female of their clan naked if you're not their husband? My godfather was a good man, but he was a super pervert, and I accidentally saw a few of their females when I was dragging his ass out of the hot spring when he was peeping on them, and the Kamizuru clan uses bees, and bees don't like loud noises, and I got a few jutsu that make a lot of noise, but most of those were back when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and back then I didn't really care that much about diplomacy and things like that. Tuka snickered and said, I can just see a few of those clans would love to get their hands on you. Naruto said, if they knew what I looked like they probably would, but the first jutsu I ever created made sure that I could get by without anyone knowing what I look like. Tuka looked interested and said, really, like a genjutsu? Naruto said, no, it's kenjutsu. Tuka asked, really, why is it forbidden? Naruto said, ever see a man get pregnant? Tuka blinked and blinked again and said, no, that's sort of impossible. Naruto said, using the jutsu I created it could happen. Tuka said, show me. Naruto thought a moment and said, only if you promise not to hit me for using it. Tuka said, very well, I promise. Naruto put his hands together and was covered in a puff of smoke, and soon he was replaced with Shien naked, and Tuka gasped as she looked at Naruto and got up and slowly reached for Naruto's body, and when she touched the breast on Naruto he let out a soft erotic moan and said in a sultry female voice, don't tease. Tuka got red face and jumped back, and Naruto released the jutsu and said, as you could tell, it's real. Tuka said, that's not possible. How? As she looked shocked and looked at him. Naruto said, like I told you. It's real, however there are a few problems with it. 1. Did you notice that small shock when you touched me? Tuka nods, and Naruto said, that told me that you're wearing a genjutsu and that I am not what I appear to be. That is the only way to know that I am not who I appear to be, is if you yourself are not as you appear to be and are wearing a genjutsu. Any other time unless you see me use it, then you never know. Tuka was shocked and said, please don't tell anyone about the genjutsu I am wearing. Naruto said, only on 2 conditions. One is I finish telling you about my jutsu as a sign of trust, and then you tell me why you're wearing a genjutsu, and we both keep it a secret to earn the respect of each other. The brothers are trying to treat me fairly even when they learned of my tragic past, and I wish to earn the respect of your clan. Tuka asked, is that why you wish to train my son? Naruto said, no. I wish to train Nawaki team because all 3 of their skills currently suck, and if the rest of the genin of this village are equally trained as they were, then Konoha is going to need a lot of body bags. One thing that really pisses me off is a sensei who does not train his or her team properly and put them in situations that will get them killed because they don't know how to protect themselves. Tuka looked at Naruto and after trying to see if he was lying or not and said, very well, I agree to your conditions. Naruto said, now as I said there are a few problems. One is that your chakra levels will drop to that of a civilian unless you have really good control and plan how much the person you henge into has, or you won't be able to use any ninjutsu or genjutsu. The next problem is you actually have to know how to release the jutsu, or you will be stuck in it until you die, I believe, and maybe even past then. I spent an entire month when I was 8 as a 14-year-old girl, because I could not figure out how to dispel it. I was scared to death when I had a period. Tuka blinked and after a moment couldn't take it and burst out laughing. Naruto said, yeah, funny. Now another problem is that everything but the organs that both males and females share will change, which is why I could become pregnant, but if I am 8-year-old then so is my heart lunges and things like that. Now if I were 8 years old and I made myself look like I do now, then I would physically be that age, but my organs won't be, so either they would work themselves to hard, causing me serious medical problems, or death. That is why I make myself look either the same age or younger, but I can't make my 17-year-old body look like my 8-year-old because my organs will be too big for my small body and cause me trouble also, so it has to be an adult body. Tuka thought a moment and said, I see where the problems arise. When you were stuck as a 14-year-old, what happened to you? Naruto said, I spent most of that month in the bed because I was too weak to do really anything else. Luckily my godfather took care of me and eventually figured out how I could dispel it. Tuka asked, is that it? Naruto said, yeah, but as you can see from what I told you, it is truly a kenjutsu. Not only because of the ability to become nearly anyone if you have truly mastered the jutsu, but because of the health risk as well. Tuka took a deep breath and said, the genjutsu is a special one that all senju women wear. Our clan, like the Fuma clan, does not let anyone else besides our lovers know what we really look like. It's made where nothing can see through it. The Senju clan does this because we do not want our daughters to only have someone who wants to be with them because of just their looks. Naruto said, I see. And thought, no wonder Tsunade always kept that thing on. I wonder, if she has that on, then what does she really look like? Tuka saw Naruto in thought and asked, what are you thinking? Naruto said, that I was wrong when I first felt that genjutsu. I thought it was because you were probably vain and wanted to make yourself look younger than you were your entire life because the thought of growing old scares you. Tuka's sweat dropped and said, I can see how you pissed the rest of those clans off now. Naruto shrugged and said, I think I do pretty good considering my lessons in manners, politics, and procedure came from a man who spent most of his time peeping on women, getting drunk and hanging around in brothels. If I didn't have the convictions I do, then odds are I would have followed in his footsteps and became the world's next super pervert instead of a pervert basher. Tuka asked, pervert basher? Naruto said, yeah, come to my match tomorrow, and if the person I have to fight is a guy, the first will show you. Having to drag my godfather ass out of those brothels and hot springs earned me a lot of favors from some of the ladies in them, and they gave me tips to use men's own perverted natures against them. In fact, I have around 30 jutsu just for that purpose. Tuka shook her head and said, I don't know if I should respect you or hit you. Naruto said, that's the general reaction I get from women. A voice from the kitchen said, very true, Naruto. Startling Tuka as she looked over and saw a red two-tailed fox. Naruto asked, what are you doing here, Sakura-chan? Sakura said, I came to find out how things went. I was worried that you might have had some trouble after what happened earlier today. Naruto said, well, the brothers know about what my father did the day I was born, and I told them about my home village of Oto in Spring Country and how it was destroyed by Akatsuki. Sakura said, I see. Hello miss, I am Sakura, one of Naruto's summons. Tuka said, Tuka Senju, and Naruto here was just telling me about his pervert bashing skills. Sakura laughed and said, yes, I used to knock him upside the head for them because of how it could be considered disrespectful to women, but I have to say that they work and they helped him actually save a couple of women who were captured by slave traders. Especially when he allowed himself to be captured using them so he could get those girls out of the camp and back to their family. Tuka said, I see. He's not what I was expecting when I came here today. As she looked over at him, Sakura said, when we were younger he was known as the #1 hyperactive surprise ninja. Naruto said, I was also known as the prank master from hell, but nobody ever remembers that. Sakura said, please, I think people were still trying to get paint of the mountain after you graffiti it 5 years later. Tuka laughed and asked, so how long have you known each other? Sakura said, we're family. We've known each other since we were children. He saved my life more times than I can remember. Naruto said, and you saved mine also. Sakura said, yeah, you need a medic watching your back 24/7. Naruto said, why you? Earning a laugh from Sakura and Tuka. Sakura said, so are you joining the village here or what? Naruto said, I am going to be evaluated tomorrow to see if I am as good as I claim. I told them I was high chunin to low junin. If I am, then I will take over as sensei for Team 2, which was the team I saved earlier. Sakura gave him a deadpan look and said, so you're going to be a sensei for sure, huh? Naruto said, most likely. Tuka asked, are you that sure of your skills, Naruto? Naruto and Sakura both turned to her with deadpan expressions, and Sakura said, yeah, you can tie both his arms and legs together, cut off half his chakra and blindfold him, and he will still beat whoever ass he faces. Tuka raised an eyebrow and said, then I will see tomorrow. I must go and finish up at the house before I turn in for the night. Good night, Naruto, Sakura. As she left, once she was gone, Naruto asked, so why are you really here? Sakura was quite a moment and said, I figured you might have to lie to be allowed to join the village, so if you ever summoned us we would need to know what you told them so we don't cause you trouble down the road. Also, I came to check on you. I worry about you. Naruto smiled and said, thank you, Sakura. So you and Haku, huh? Sakura said, yeah, I can see why you were so affected by him. We both like healing and I only wish I would have met him when we were in Wave. Naruto said, I still think he looks like a girl sometimes. Sakura blushed and said, no, he's not a girl. Naruto looked at her and asked, so any little kids on the way? Sakura said, none of your business. As she blushed even more, which is funny when you can actually see red on the cheeks of a fox. Naruto laughed and said, relax Sakura, I was just teasing, and explained in detail about what all had happened as he finished. But I am a little tired, between getting the contract, fighting those nins, and then talking to the brothers, and I still need to eat and I have to fight someone tomorrow to prepare for. Sakura said, alright, take care. As she went up in smoke. Naruto sighed as he ate and washed up the dishes and before he went to bed to sleep. When Sakura got back to the land of Inari, she saw the others there looking at her and she said, he's okay now. And explained the story Naruto gave. When it was over, Lee said, even I would be fooled by that story. Sakura said, because it's mostly true with only a few important details change. Back in Konoha, Tuka was washing the dishes when a 16-year-old Tsunade walked into the kitchen and she asked, hi mom, how was your day? Tuka said, oh, it was very eventful, did you hear about your brother? Tsunade said, no, what about him? We had a mission recovering some cows that were stolen by some bandits for a farmer. As she looked interested, Tuka said, his team was attacked today by Iwa Nins and his sensei was killed. Tsunade gasped and asked, is he alright? Tuka smiled and said, yes, thanks to Naruto. Tsunade blinked and asked, who? Tuka said, he's this very nice-looking young man who saved Nawaki and both his teammates and brought them back to Konoha, and after talking with your grandfather and granduncle is going to join the village. Tsunade looked at her mom and said, Mom, please don't start talking about nice young men. It just sounds so wrong coming from you. You're so old. Tuka screamed, Tsunade Senju, don't you dare call your mother old, little girl. I will bend you over my knee and spank you. Tsunade laughed at her mother's expense and Tuka said, well, go check on your brother and leftovers are in the fridge. Also, when you get up in the morning, I need you to go to the guest cabin and get the dishes there for me. Tsunade blinked and asked, why are there dishes at the guest cabin? Tuka said, because we have a guest, now go on and get. I want to finish these dishes so I can go to bed. Tsunade nods and walks up the stairs to the second floor and came to her brother's room and she knocked and Nawaki's voice said, come in. Tsunade opened the door and said, hey Squirt, heard you had an exciting day. Nawaki said, yeah, Okim-sensei died and Choco nearly died, but then Naruto-sensei showed up and saved her, and then when those Iwa Nins attacked him he actually ran down the body of an earth dragon and killed 2 Iwa Nins, and then he saved us and then he began to train us, and as he was excited explaining what Naruto had them do. Tsunade said, sounds like this Naruto guy impressed you, huh? Nawaki said, and he's so cool and powerful and he's only 17. Tsunade saw how excited her brother was and said, well, I will have to meet him sometime. You need to get you some sleep, brother, and I am glad that you're okay and sorry to hear about your sensei. Nawaki asked, hey sis, what is the basic 3? Tsunade said, I don't know why. Nawaki said, well, Naruto-sensei was really upset when he asked us what we know and we told him, and he asked if we knew the basic 3, and when we said no he got upset. Tsunade said, well, ask him what he was upset about when you see him. Nawaki said, I think I will. Tsunade said, good night, brother. As she kissed his head. Nawaki said, good night, sis. As he turned off his light and lay down. Tsunade thought as she got something to eat, I wonder what this new guy is like to make such an impression on mom and Nawaki. The next morning when Tsunade knocked on the door to the cabin, she waited a few moments and no one answered the door, and she knocked again, and after waiting some more she opened the door and went inside and looked around and saw that the dishes were waiting for her, and she grabbed them and thought, I wonder where this guest is. As she started to leave. As she exited the cabin she looks around and shrugs before heading back to her house to drop the dishes off. As she was leaving, Naruto, who was on the roof of the cabin, watched her go as he looked at her with red crimson eyes as they slowly revert back to blue, and thought, so that's what she really looks like. Ero Sanin was way wrong, she's not flat chest at all. She is as big as Sakura-chan was after I came back to Konoha. He then drops down off the roof and sits down on a stump and takes a lotus position and begins to meditate. About an hour later Tobirama appears and asked, where were you this morning? Naruto said, sitting on the roof watching the sunrise through the forest. Who was the blonde girl? I was thinking about talking to her but she looked like she was in a hurry so I didn't disturb her. Tobirama looked at him and said, alright, what was she wearing when she came here then? Naruto said, a pair of black shorts with a tanish white shirt, black ninja sandals and a chunin vest. Tobirama said, alright, that was Tsunade, my great niece. Now follow me so we can get this evaluation done. Naruto stood up and began to follow him and soon came to training ground 7 and Naruto thought, I wonder if this is just some huge joke by Kami on me. Naruto said, so this is where the test will be then. As he looked around noticing the differences between now and when he was a genin, the most notable was the missing memorial stone and a few extra trees. Tobirama said, yes, but that will be in about 20 minutes. I brought you early so you could get a look at the field since your opponent already knows this field. Naruto nods and began to walk around the field and he noticed as Tuka arrived along with Hashirama. Both walked over and Hashirama said, I understand you already met my daughter-in-law Tuka. Naruto said, yes, it was an honor to talk with her and I wish to thank you for giving me a chance to prove myself to you. Just then 10 Shushin arrived and Naruto saw that Madara Uchiha along with 9 other members of the Uchiha family arrived. Hashirama asked, to what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Madara? Madara said, I came to see the evaluation of this young man and was invited by Tobirama and I thought it would be a good idea to allow some of my clan to see him and understand his style should we ever be teamed up together. Hashirama said, very well. As he saw Naruto cut his eyes at Madara with a smirk on his face. A few moments later Hiruzen Sarutobi arrived along with Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru and he said, to what do we owe the pleasure of your visit, Hashirama-sensei and Tobirama-sensei? As he looked around and saw Naruto looking at him and his team. Hashirama said, I need to test the skill level of this young man here to see what rank to give him. If his skills are as good as he claims then he will be joining our village. Sarutobi nods and asked, and you wish to have someone from my team to test him? Hashirama said, no, I want all 3 of your students to test him as well as to let me evaluate their skills to see if they are really ready for that mission. Sarutobi said, very well, I am Hiruzen Sarutobi and this is my team, Jiraiya Oil, Orochimaru, and Tsunade Senju. Naruto said, greeting, the name's Naruto. Tsunade asked, do you have a family name? Naruto said, officially I never was given more than my first name. I was told as I grew up the family name of both my parents but was never told their first name. And officially it is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Madara, Tobirama, and Hashirama all 3 eyes went wide when they heard the name Uzumaki and Hashirama said, you're an Uzumaki. Naruto blinked and said, I told you about my past and because of it I never went by my father's name, why? Everyone seemed confused but those 3 and Tobirama said, the Uzumaki family is the royal family or whirlpool country. Naruto shrugged and said, don't know, might explain why my godfather never told me the first name of my mother or my father since one was the leader of our village until he died and everyone called him by his title and my mother if she was related to them she must have left for some reason. Either way it doesn't matter to me. I never live off the names of anyone else. I prove myself through my own actions. Madara asked, before we begin Namikaze, may I ask what elemental affinities do you have? Naruto looked at him and asked, why? Madara said, like the Senju brothers I have had dealings with the Uzumaki clan before and I know a little about them and I wish to see if you might really be related to them. Naruto looked at Hashirama who said, if you don't mind Naruto I would like to know that as well. Naruto asked, those that I can do or those that I have mastered? Jiraiya asked, what's the difference? Naruto said, with enough hard work you can use an element even if you don't have an affinity for it, but to be able to use it at its full strength is mastering it. Sarutobi said, that is very true but just tell us which elements you can use since this is an evaluation of your skills. Naruto shrugged and said, my primary element is food and fully mastered and I have 2 secondary elements in Suiten and Doden with near mastery on both and I also can use some Hyouten, Sabaku, and Mokuton. The last 3 are just a single jutsu each so far. I am trying to increase them to where I can master them but I doubt I can. Everyone was wide-eyed looking at him and Sarutobi said, that is 6 elements you can use. Naruto shrugged and said, I busted my ass off to get those skills to the level 1 and as for the last I ran into someone who had bloodlines for 2 of them in my travel and they showed me enough to figure out how to imitate them and I heard about the Shodem's ability with Mokuton and I experimented with a few things and learned a small jutsu that works but it takes a lot of concentration for me to do it. Madara said, I am even more interested in seeing his evaluation now more than ever. Hashirama said, very well Naruto, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Jiraiya. All 4 of you are to go to the center of this field and when I say start you will fight Team 7 versus Naruto. No permanent injuries or death blows but everything else is allowed. You will fight until I tell you to stop or there is a victor. Jiraiya said, this will be easy. I don't care how good he says he is, there are 3 of us and only 1 of him. As he walked to the middle of the field, Naruto said, if I had a penny every time I faced an enemy who outnumbered me and said those words I would be the richest man in the world. As he saw Tsunade and Orochimaru get on each side of Jiraiya, Naruto cracked his neck from side to side and saw the Uchiha all activate their Sharingan and he said, ready when you are. Hashirama along with everyone else but the 4 got into the trees away from the fighting and he said, begin. 3 puffs of smoke appeared and there were 4 Naruto and 3 of them turned away from Team 7 and darted into the woods. Everyone narrowed their eyes and Naruto jumped back onto the river behind him and began to do one-hand signs raising several eyebrows and Jiraiya screamed, oh no you don't, as he charged toward Naruto and the field began to cover in a mist as Naruto said, Kirigakure no Jutsu. The field was completely covered in mist. Tsunade and Orochimaru both cursed as Jiraiya charged and the field was covered and Jiraiya came running up toward them and Orochimaru threw a kunai at the ground in front of him and Jiraiya screamed, what the hell Teme? Orochimaru asked, if you're really Jiraiya and not a henge then tell us something only we would know. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade who was eyeing him and he said, come on flat chest, you know it's me. Look you want to know something that only we would know, I was the one tied to the log. Just then another Jiraiya ran up screaming don't listen to him. He's a fake but Tsunade had already acted and threw a senbon at the second Jiraiya hitting him in the arm and he screamed out in pain. It was at that moment that the first Jiraiya charged Tsunade and before she had a chance to react he passed by her and slapped her on the spine and she fell to the ground as he disappeared into the mist. She realized that the one who just attacked her made her scream out, what the hell did you just do to me? Naruto voice come from the mist and said, simple, after I tricked you into attacking your own teammate I hit a pressure point in your back making it where your legs won't work until it is healed effectively neutralizing you. I also took your weapon pouch as I passed you by so now you don't have any more weapons to attack me with either unless you take them from your teammate and even then your effectiveness is cut in half as a distraction. Tsunade screamed, damn you. Jiraiya who was holding his arm stood over Tsunade and asked, how did you know enough to pass for me and what was the jutsu you used to do it? It wasn't a henge, as his eyes darted around the mist trying to see. Naruto voice still coming from everywhere said, did you know that yesterday I saved the lives of 3 genin after their instructor was killed? On the way back here I talked with all 3 and I asked them about themselves, their training, and their family. They thought that they didn't give me any information that was valuable and really they didn't besides common knowledge but they did give me some info that was. The first was that their team took a test to see if they were ready to be genin and it was the Bell test. I told them I knew of the Bell test because in truth I did since I took it before myself from my godfather but the real information they gave me was that after they failed the first part that one of them was tied up. I asked which one it was and Nawaki told me he was the one who was tied up because he was the one who first attacked their sensei. I thought back to every time I heard of the Bell test over the years and I realized the one who always attacks in the group is always the one who was tied up. I took a gamble that your team also took this test and used my revelation I had to lower your teammates' guard. Tsunade said, that still doesn't explain how you knew what Jiraiya called me all the time. Naruto said, that is because he calls you it so much everyone in the village knows it and so when Nawaki was talking about how cool his big sister was Dango mentioned that her teammate Jiraiya always gets punched when he calls her flat chest so again I took the info I received and used it against you. Outside the mist everyone was listening and took a thought. I will have to talk to Nawaki about giving out information to strangers, even if he didn't realize the info he gave was valuable. Naruto voice came from the mist and said, now Orochimaru, If your mud clone is done trying to fool me, you can come out of that hole you're in. As the mist started to clear and everyone could see the figure of Orochimaru melt as Tsunade and Jiraiya became clear enough to see, but then another figure appeared, and as everyone looked, Jiraiya's eyes got big as there stood Anko, who swayed her hips and said, "Oh Jiraiya-kun. I was wondering, could you help me with my coat here? It seems to have trouble closing." As she flashed enough breast to make him blow back with a nosebleed and several men in the area to get a nosebleed. At that moment Anko went up in smoke and Naruto, who was leaning against a tree with his arms crossed, said, "And so the pervert goes down. Sensual seduction tease no jutsu a success." Tsunade said, "And I take it my brother team told you about Jiraiya being a pervert as well." With a growl, Naruto said, "Actually no, Jiraiya told me he was when I saw him checking out your mom's breast and your ass." Making both women glare at Jiraiya, who was still passed out with a smile on his face. At that moment Orochimaru burst out of the ground with a kunai with an exploding tag on it and threw it at Naruto, and a wall of sand came up and blocked the tag, and a hand formed out of the sand and threw it back at him only to explode halfway back. Orochimaru asked, "How did you do that?" Naruto said, "By mixing my Doten and Fuuten chakra together and charging the sand I carry in a small tube I carry with me that is charged with my chakra, I can create a personal wall of defense to stop attacks from getting to me, and then using chakra control to make it mold into what I want, but it takes nearly all my concentration to do it, which is why I was standing here doing nothing but talking. That was the only sand jutsu I can do, and it is only a fraction of what the actual jutsu I am imitating does, but it does stop projectile weapons." And thought, "Thank you Gaara for explaining in detail how Shukaku chakra did that, and all I had to do was mold nature chakra to do the same thing." Madara was frowning and thought, first he uses one hand signs and then the hidden mist jutsu and then chakra control manipulation with two elements. It's like he knows how to keep me from copying his jutsu. Orochimaru said, "I see. Tell me, what was up with those cage bunshin you created earlier?" Naruto smirked and said, "A precaution. It was something that I can do that I will only use under certain circumstances, and you haven't forced me to use it yet." Orochimaru began to flash through hand signs and said, "Then I will have to change that." Naruto, still not moving, saw Orochimaru finish his hand signs, and at the moment he went to slam his hands into the ground, a fist came out of the ground hitting him right in the face, knocking him out. Another Naruto burst out of the ground and went up in smoke, and Naruto said, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," and I believe that is the end of the match. Orochimaru and Jiraiya are both passed out and Tsunade is unable to move. Hashirama jumped down and said, "I agree. The match is over, and I have to say I am impressed, but I can't say for sure you are a Junin level." Madara said, "Then perhaps one more opponent would do. I would like to challenge him myself." Everyone seemed shocked about that except Naruto and Tobirama, who thought, "So he got your attention, huh Madara?" Hashirama said, "Look Madara, I don't think that." Naruto said, "I accept Senju-sama. I mean the three I fought earlier were a good team and normally would have given an enemy a hard fight that they most likely would have won, but I had information on weakness and exploited it. Now Madara here has never faced me nor I him. I may know a lot about his clan, but I would like to see how I face against one of the two strongest men in the Fire Country just to know where I rank in skills. I would like to also make this exam if possible a knockout or a submission match, sir." At this everyone's eyes widened and Madara asked, "Why would you so foolishly want to remove the safety restrictions?" Naruto saw Jiraiya wake up and Sarutobi woke Orochimaru up and helped Tsunade out of the ring to safety, and he said, "Because when I fought the three earlier I could not use my real style because I needed to show I had the brains for a Junin. I demonstrated that I felt, but I feel that I did not have the opportunity to show where my real skills lie. I showed heaven was strong, but now I need to show earth is strong as well, and only someone of your caliber would push me that far." Madara eyed Naruto and said, "So be it. Accept his stipulations, Senju." Hashirama looked at Naruto and said, "Very well, but remember, no fatality." Naruto nods and said, "Ready when you are Madara," as he tossed his cloak to the ground with a small cloud of smoke rising from it. Madara said, "Weights huh?" Naruto said, "Only 100 pounds, just enough to keep my cloak from making noise when I move." Madara took the Uchiha Interceptor style and Naruto took a style that made Madara's eyes go wide, and he said, "I recognize that style, but I doubt you can use it effectively, boy. After all, you don't have the bloodline for it." Naruto said, "True, but the gentle fist style does have one advantage though to start our match off with." Hashirama said, "Begin." Madara asked, "And what was that?" Naruto smirked and said, "It gave me the time for my last cage bunshin that was hidden in the ground to send a message to the three I made during the last match that I will be using what they have prepared." As chakra began to rise off his body, as first blue chakra and then silver chakra began to form around his body as his cheeks turned red. Hashirama gasped as he felt what Naruto was doing and thought, "He's pulling chakra from nature itself. Just how strong are you, Naruto?" As his eyes locked on Madara, who was recovering from his shock, and thought, "So Madara, you recognize it also." "You were right, Naruto, besides myself Madara is the only one who could make you go all out." On the sidelines Tsunade asked, "What is that?" Hashirama said, "It has many names, but no matter what it is called it all is exactly the same thing, nature chakra." Naruto said, "I prefer the name Sage personally." Madara said, "But it comes at a heavy price, boy. You may have unlimited chakra for as long as you can hold the technique, but you can't move or the chakra begins to absorb you. Even Hashirama is forced to stand still when he uses it." Naruto said, "Normally you would be correct. Except I found a way around it." As he disappeared from view and Madara raised his arm and blocked the kick from Naruto, who disappeared again, and threw an elbow at the back of Madara head, who disappeared. Madara appeared in the air flashing through hand signs as he said, "Karyu Enden, fire dragon flame projectile." And a long stream of fire was heading toward the ground, where Naruto appeared pulling out a small fan and he swung it screaming, "Kamaitachi, cutting whirlwind." As the wind with blades of wind mixed and ran toward the fire and stalled it while Naruto finished his hand sign and said, "Daitopa, great breakthrough." And he brought his hands to his mouth and blew and a huge gust of wind toward the slightly stalled fire, but once it caught the Kamaitachi they combined, blowing through the fire, and the blades of wind caught on fire and flew at Madara, who replaced himself with a log. Naruto saw this and charged toward Madara and then disappeared for a moment only to reappear right in front of Madara and kicked him into the air. Naruto then flipped and got on all four and launched himself toward Madara and passed him only to flip and deliver a heel kick to the top of Madara head. Madara dissolved into mud and soon a shout of "Phoenix Fireball Jutsu" was heard and several balls of fire was flying toward Naruto, who began to twist his body and screamed, "Kaden." As the fireballs hit the Kaden, grabbing them and launching them, and the shurikens inside back at Madara, who went up in smoke when he was hit. At that moment both Naruto and Madara disappeared and the sound of flesh hitting flesh was heard. Tobirama looked at his brother and said, "He is definitely Junin level brother." Hashirama said, "He is above that level brother. He's fighting Madara toe to toe. Only I have ever done the same thing." Tsunade said, "But grandfather, it took you years to reach your level. How can you say he is at the same level?" Hashirama said, "Because he fighting not to see who is stronger. He fighting for a place to call home. A place to be accepted as an equal, and a place that will accept him. Why else risk his very life in a kenjutsu? He willing to sacrifice everything for this." Tuka thought, is this what Sakura had meant? That he is willing to put his life at risk just to find peace? Madara and Naruto both appeared in the air, fist to fist and knee to knee, and the chakra around Naruto flared a moment as the silver chakra left his body. Taking that moment, Naruto saw Madara smirk and throw a punch at his face, only to scream out in pain as Naruto replaced himself with a shuriken that Madara had thrown earlier that was now in his hand. Naruto appeared on the ground and said, "That's one Madara, ready for round 2. As silver chakra suddenly exploded from his body. Madara, who had removed the shuriken from his hand, narrowed his eye and thought, "Something's not right here. How is he able to draw on nature chakra in an instant? That it? Somehow he's using the cage from before to do it, but if I am right then that means either the first time was him drawing on it or his cage bunshin, so he can do it up to 2 more times." As he charged toward Naruto and both began to flash through hand signs, but Naruto doing one hand signs on each hand. Madara said, "Dai Enden, great fireball." As a huge fireball shot at Naruto, who finished with his right hand and said, "Doryu Juheki, earth-style rampart." And the ground he was on suddenly shot 30 feet in the air as the fireball that Madara had sent hit the wall and flames rose up the side, and Naruto finished a moment later with his left hand sign and said, "Senko, Futen Tsunabakori, Hermit Art, Wind Element Dust Cloud." as he jumped into the air, taking a deep breath and breathed the air toward the rock cliff he had made. When the wind hit the wall, it completely destroyed the wall and the dust covered the entire area, and Naruto said, "And now you're blind, Madara." Tejukage Bunshin no Jutsu. As the sound of hundreds of puffs was heard, and then the voice of Naruto echoed hundreds of times, said together, "Uzumaki Naruto Nisan Renden. Uzumaki Naruto 2000 hit combo." As suddenly the sound of flesh hitting flesh was heard over and over again, as the voice of Madara was heard screaming out in pain. Finally, when the sound of flesh hitting flesh ended, there was the sound of a lot of puffs going off again, and wind blew the dust away so everyone could see. There was Naruto seen standing over the form of Madara, who was bleeding severely all over his body with bruising appearing everywhere. Everyone was shocked seeing him in this state, and Naruto said, "He's alive with no permanent injuries, but it's going to take him a couple of weeks to recover." Madara coughed up blood and said weakly from on the ground, "It's not over yet, boy." Naruto said, "I guess not, I concede." Everyone looked at him like he was crazy. Madara, to the shock of everyone, slowly stood up, and Naruto thought, "How the hell is he getting back up after that? I hit every pain center in his body and every joint with enough force to need minor medical care." Madara said, "Don't play with me, boy, it's not over by a long shot." As he burst into thousands of crows. Naruto frowned as he closed his eyes, and when he opened them, several people gasped because they were red, and Naruto looked around the clearing and said, "It's over, Madara. I gave up, so you won. Besides, genjutsu won't work on my now." The clearing was silent for a moment, and Madara's voice said, "Really, you think whatever you done with your eyes can stand up to the power of the Sharingan?" Naruto's eyes went wide and screamed, "Don't do it, Madara. I know what you got planned, and if you try it then you will pay 1,000 times over. Don't try it, please, I beg you." As he looked all around the clearing, an explosion of chakra was felt from the north end of the field, and Hashirama said, "It's over, Madara, he gave up." Madara appeared with the Inichual Gate and the Heel Gate open, and he said, "It's not over yet, Senju. I will not be given pity and handed a false victory. Now, boy, face the power of the Sharingan and the Uchiha clan." As Madara's eyes changed into the Magna-Q Sharingan, Naruto screamed, "No Don." As Madara said, "Tsukuyomi. God of the Moon technique." Silence fell over the arena as both Naruto and Madara stood still for a moment, and Naruto grunts as he fell forward, and Madara soon begins to scream, grabbing at his face as blood begins to leak from both his eyes. And Uchiha asked, "What's going on?" as they looked at Madara, who was now on the ground holding his face, screaming out in pain. Naruto's voice carried over the field softly as he was still face down with just his head slightly turned. "I tried to warn him, but he wouldn't listen. It's too late now." Tobirama ran over with everyone but the Uchiha, who were over at Madara trying to get him to stop screaming. Hashirama asked, "What's too late, Naruto? What happened?" Naruto grunts and said tiredly, "Can someone please roll me over? I won't be able to move anything besides my mouth and eyes for the next 72 hours. Tuka turned him over, and his head turned with his body locked in place as it rolled, and Hashirama asked, "What happened, Naruto?" Naruto's eyes were closing slowly, and he said, "Madara Sharingan is destroying itself. I tried to warn him," as his eyes closed. Tuka touched Naruto's arm and said, "Naruto. Naruto, can you hear me?" Tobirama said, "He's passed out, Tuka. Most likely chakra exhaustion and whatever just happened." Another Naruto ran into the field and said, "Shit," drawing everyone's attention. By this time an Uchiha had knocked out Madara as blood continued to come out of his eyes, and one of them walked over and drew back a fist to hit the Naruto clone, when Sarutobi grabbed the fist and said, "Wait, it's just a cage, Bunshin. If we want answers you can't destroy it." The Uchiha sneered and demanded, "What happened? You seem to know what is going on, so tell us what you did to Madara." The clone snorts and said, "It's not what I did to him, it's what he done to himself." "Did boss try and stop him?" Tuka said, "Yeah." His eyes changed red and he said genjutsu won't work on him, and he then screamed he knew what Madara had planned and don't do it, that he would pay 1,000 times over. The clone sighed and said, "Damn it. Boss tried to warn him, it's Itachi gift." Hashirama asked, "Who?" The clone blinked and said, "Oh, that's right, you don't know. Boss told your brother about the other Uchiha he knew before." Everyone turned to Tobirama, who asked, "The two brothers and their grandfather, the one with a 5th level Sharingan." The Uchiha who was standing there asked, "What other Uchiha? There is no 5th level Sharingan." The clone, ignoring the Uchiha, said, "Yeah, that's them. Boss told you how the older brother let the younger one kill him so he could kill his grandfather who killed his clan, right?" Tobirama nods and the clone said, "Well, that's not everything that happened. Before Itachi let Sasuke, his little brother, kill him, he did something to both Boss and Sasuke. He sealed the power of the right eye Amaterasu in his brother Sasuke, and he sealed the power of the left eye Tsukuyomi in Boss, but he made it where neither can ever control it normally and they would be set off by a certain condition. For Sasuke to fire off the Amaterasu would go off if he ever saw the eternal Magna-Q. It will cast Amaterasu and burn the person who holds that eye for 7 days and nights even if Sasuke didn't want it, and for Naruto it goes off whenever an Uchiha tries to use Tsukuyomi on him, but instead of pulling both into the Genjutsu it does something different." Several of the Uchiha walked over and one asked, "What does it do that is different than the normal Tsukuyomi, and what did it do to my brother?" The clone asked, "Your Madara brother?" The Uchiha said, "Yes, I am Izuna Uchiha, now answer my question." The clone said, "Very well. Itachi wanted to make sure that Sasuke would be the one to avenge the Uchiha clan, so he made it where when Naruto condition is met that his body will freeze for 72 hours, the same amount of time that if he were in the Genjutsu his mind would suffer. Now if you don't know when two Uchiha both use that technique on each other, it would come down to who had the stronger mind would be the one to win, but Itachi made it where instead of who had the stronger mind it would let whoever had the most chakra left. Boss had more since he mostly used Sage Chakra, and so when Madara tried it Itachi gift activated and instead of being pulled into Tsukuyomi his Sharingan was turned onto itself, making it where both eyes were pulled into Tsukuyomi, and for 72 hours in the Genjutsu they were burned over and over again by Amaterasu is what he saw. What it actually did was cause both eyes to activate until they went completely blind, but his mind feels like they are being burned from him. That way the person the gift was originally supposed to blind would be weakened enough for Sasuke to kill him." Izuna said, "I never heard of either Sasuke or Itachi Uchiha or this eternal Magna-Q." The clone said, "What Boss was told by the brothers was that their clan separated from your clan sometime during the nomadic years because they had a disagreement with the rest of the clan. There was originally 5 families I think, but they were slaughtered by the brothers' great-grandfather who had discovered the secret of the eternal Sharingan. He left both boys alive so he would have a replacement without being discovered by the clan here. They're all dead now so it doesn't matter." Izuna said, "That boy should have the power he was given sealed off, it's too dangerous. That power belongs to the Uchiha clan." The clone said, "Okay. Let me ask you something, do you know how to seal it off?" Boss doesn't, and he nearly a Fuinjutsu master. As far as I know the only person who could have undone what was done is Itachi, and he's dead. You say it's dangerous. Are you and your clan planning to try and use Tsukuyomi on him, because the only way it will ever affect any Uchiha is if they try and cast it on him. He could be standing right next to the person you use it on and it won't harm you, but you try and use it on him and bye-bye bloodline, so are you going to be hostile toward a new ally?" Izuna saw everyone looking at him and he said, "Of course not. Why would we?" The clone said, "Then there is no reason to seal it off. Besides, wasn't the match over when your brother attacked Boss? He sent me a mental command to stop what I was doing, so your clan attacked him outside of spar and training. Isn't that illegal or something in this village, or am I wrong?" Izuna frowned and said, "No, you're right. The match was over and Naruto admitted defeat, but my brother would not hear it." The clone said, "Then as payment for that Boss would be willing to accept just dropping the entire matter, since he knows Madara didn't want to cause him any harm and he didn't want to cause Madara any harm, and let's work for the betterment of the village instead of trying to start a war or something. He never wanted to harm Madara, he just wanted to test himself against one of the 2 strongest people in the Fire Country so he would know where he actually was in skill. Yes, that gift was an Uchiha technique, but it was given to him by an Uchiha. And Boss really don't like it, but he has no choice since he can't remove it, sorry." Itachi didn't really give Boss a choice in accepting it. He stabbed Boss to a tree and then gave it to him while he couldn't move. Izuna saw the other Uchiha looking at him and he thought, "What should I do now, brother? Everyone expects me to decide what to do since you're injured, and if he's telling the truth then I will have to take over as clan head." And he asked, "Tell me what you know about this eternal Magna-Q. In exchange for the information on it I will let this matter drop." The clone glanced at Tobirama and said, I only know a little about it. I know that since the Magna-Q causes blindness from using it over periods of time, that the eternal Magna-Q can restore the sight of an Uchiha, causing everyone to look at him interested. The clone said, but it comes at an even heavier price than the Magna-Q, where you have to kill your best friend to get the Magna-Q. Causing gasp from everyone but Izuna, who frowned, and Tobirama. The eternal Magna-Q can only be achieved by a set of brothers where one has to kill their own brother and also do something else, but I don't know what the other thing is. I do know that both brothers have to be completely blind, or at least that is what Tobi bragged about when he taunted Sasuke and me. Izuna asked, how do you know so much about the Magna-Q? Naruto sighed as he raised his shirt, and everyone who had not saw the scar before was wide-eyed, and Naruto said, I was Sasuke's best friend. He tried to kill me with an assassination jutsu to get the Magna-Q, but at the last moment he changed his mind and decided he would not follow the ideas of a madman and find his own way to get his revenge. Luckily for me, a very dear friend who was a medic nin was nearby, and Sasuke took my body before I died to her, and she saved me after 16 hours of surgery and a whole lot of luck I lived. Izuna said, so it would be possibly to restore Madara eyes if he were to obtain this eternal Magna-Q. Naruto said, it comes at another price if you somehow figured out the last part of what it takes and he killed you, but then every time he used the Magna-Q he would lose a little of his mind. Insanity is the final price for power that he would have to pay. When Sasuke and I killed Tobi, he was talking like a 4-year-old child who was easily distracted by butterflies that was in the field, birds that were flying away from our battle, and even the clouds in the sky. He still had his fighting skills, but his mind was that of a child in the end. Izuna thought, that is not possible. But he knows so much about the secrets of the Uchiha clan, and I can't detect any lies. I can't have that happen to you, brother. I won't let you become insane and weakened. You let your anger get to you for a stupid test. The clan has seen you becoming unstable as of late, since you keep claiming the Senju are betraying us, but you always were a sore loser. After I obtained the Magna-Q you automatically had to get it to show you were superior, and slowly we both been going blind, but after we notice I quit using it. I must be strong, brother, and lead the clan as you would want, but in order to do that I will have to kill you. You always said that weakness was not to be tolerated. Forgive me, brother, for what I must do shortly. Izuna turned to everyone there and said, listen to me, everyone. For some time now my brother's actions have become questionable. We agreed 20 years ago to a truce between the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan to build a hidden village that our families could grow in peace together in. My brother only agreed because he was defeated by the Shodem here, who was then elected to be leader of the village since he was the stronger of the two. That has always left my brother with a secret hatred for this village and the Senju, and he has oftentimes tried to get us to break the deal, though we have refused him time and time again. Today when Naruto defeated him in battle, he was reminded of his defeat at the hands of Hashirama, and his hatred got the best of him, and he decided to attack Naruto, disgracing himself, the clan and the village. In the past his own laws for our clan stated when someone disgraced the clan they were to be killed for the dishonor. Izuna Uchiha will take over for my brother as the new clan head, as I have been asked to do before, and as my first act one will carry out my brother's punishment as he would have done to any other Uchiha, including myself, for such an act. The clone said, no, you can't, Ki. As Izuna punched him in the face, dispelling it, and he turned to Hashirama and said, this is a private matter that falls under the jurisdiction of the Uchiha clan, Hokage-sama. I know how you felt toward my brother with great respect and have been willing to overlook some of his questionable actions in the past, but my brother would not live with the price of his actions today. He could not handle being blind and would destroy the peace that we have sacrificed and worked hard to achieve. I cannot allow that for not only the village but for my clan. I do however ask that for this sacrifice that I am about to make by killing my brother, that all here are sworn to secrecy about all you heard about the Magna-Q and the eternal Magna-Q. When I die I will be the last of my clan to ever obtain these eyes, and the secret to obtaining them will be destroyed. My clan does not wish any harm on our newest ally either, because his actions have been honorable. Will you accept my decision on this matter, Hokage-sama? Hashirama asked. Are you sure about this, Izuna? Izuna nods and said, it is what you would want. Hashirama said, very well. May I come to his funeral to pay my respect? Izuna said, the Uchiha clan would be honored to have you there. Hashirama said, very well. I will let you deal with it in your own way. I must take Naruto here and have him looked after. If he is indeed going to be unable to move for the next 3 days, he will need help. Izuna looked at Naruto and walked over, and he said, "Let this be witnessed by all here today and known throughout the village. The Uchiha clan recognized Naruto here as an honorary member of our clan as payment for the crimes that we have done to him in the past." As he pulled a kunai and sliced his hand open and then sliced Naruto and placed their hands together. Hashirama had tensed when he saw the kunai but relaxed afterwards and said, "So noted. Tuka, Tobirama, can you help Tsunade back to the house? I will take care of Naruto myself until he awakens." Both nod and picked Tsunade up and carried her back to the house, and Izuna walked over to Madara and picked him up and said, "Farewell. Come," as he locked eyes with those of the other Uchiha present before they shushined away. Hashirama walked over to Naruto, and as everyone was leaving he picked him up and shushined away as well. Several hours later in the Uchiha shrine, Izuna sat at his brother's side and was praying for him when suddenly he felt a great pain in his chest and he gasped, opening his eyes in shock. He saw the arm of his brother holding a kunai in his chest, and Madara said, "Do you think I would let you kill me, dear brother? I heard everything that was said today and I know what you have done and what you planned. I will not let you kill me, and I will have my revenge on you, the Uchiha clan, and this pathetic village, but first I shall take from you what has been taken from me." As he reached up and pulled the eye of Izuna out, and he removed his own eye as he slowly replaced it. As he did both eyes and using a jutsu to reconnect his new eye, he looked at the form of his brother dead on the ground and said, "You were always too weak and compassionate, brother. I can see." As he looked at a mirror on the wall and saw the new Magna-Q and thought, "So that's it, huh? You have to steal the eye of your brother and kill him. You gave away too much information, boy, but I will have my revenge and I won't fall for that same trick twice, boy. I will take this gift and learn to use it and then destroy you in this village." As he stepped over the body of his brother and quickly left. While history was mostly repeating itself at the Uchiha shrine, history was not repeating itself at the cabin Naruto was allowed to sleep in the night before. Hashirama looked over at his daughter-in-law and said, "I know how much you hate to do this, but I can't take the chance anymore. What if he has other little gifts that are waiting for a certain trigger to hurt or kill someone? What if the attack on Team 2 was all an act to get him inside Konoha to weaken us before the war started? Are you willing to risk your life for him, your family's life, your village safety?" Tuka sighed as she looked at the passed-out body of Naruto and looked at Tobirama and Hashirama and said, "Very well. I will use it, but I do not have to like it, but it is your responsibility to deal with the consequences, Hashirama-sama." Hashirama nods and said, "I will take full responsibility." Tuka looked one last time at her family and she began to do hand signs and touched Naruto's head as she closed her eyes. The others in the room watched as her eyes moved back and forward as she held her hand on Naruto's head, and after about 10 minutes she gasped as she fell backwards and scooted away from Naruto's body and said, "It can't be," as she looked at him with shock on her face. Naruto's eyes flickered open and said, "At least I know why Tsunade has blonde hair, Yamanaka. I had suspected but never knew for sure." As his eyes flickered around the room trying to see what he could, and he found he was still unable to move. Tobirama had moved over to Tuka, who was moving her mouth, and asked, "What's wrong, Tuka?" Hashirama moved over to Naruto discreetly holding a kunai in hand and said, "What happened, Tuka?" As he saw Naruto look at him with cold, emotionless eyes. Tuka slowly stood up and asked, "Was that all real? What I saw, was it real? I have to know." As she ignored everyone else in the room and walked over to where Naruto's eyes could see her. Naruto's eyes flickered to her a moment and they softened, and he said sadly, "Yeah, that was my life, you saw, every moment of it. At least you were not as forceful as the last Yamanaka who entered my mind." Tobirama, who was holding the hilt of the Raijin, asked, "So Tuka, what did you learn and what has spooked you?" Tuka looked at everyone in the room and she then looked back at Naruto and said, "You won't believe it. I can't believe it, but I saw it all, but." Naruto said, "And welcome to my world." Tobirama had enough of Naruto and walked over, punched him in the face and said, "Quite you." Naruto moved his jaw a little as Tuka grabbed Tobirama's arm and she said, "Don't do that again, please." As Naruto spat out a tooth and said, "Damn it. Those are always the most painful to grow back." Hashirama asked, "What is it you saw, Tuka? You're not acting like yourself. Did something happen to you in there?" Tuka closed her eyes and she said, It's I don't know where to start. Tobirama asked, is he a threat to the village? Tuka said, no. He loves Konoha and her people very dearly and only wants to protect it. Naruto sighed as he closed his eyes and Hashirama asked, but that doesn't make sense, how can he love Konoha that much if he only just arrived? Tuka said, because he was born here in Konoha. It's his home village. It's the village that his friends and family fought and died to protect and the village Akatsuki destroyed. Tobirama said, that's crazy Tuka, I think he's messed with your head or something. How can he be born to Konoha when we know everyone who has ever been born here, and how can you talk about the village being destroyed when we are standing in it and Akatsuki was destroyed 5 years ago? Tuka's eyes glossed over a moment as they flickered back and forward and she said, Nawaki was supposed to die during that mission. You Hashirama were supposed to be killed by Madara, who would use the Kyuubi to attack you at a valley called the Valley of the End. He would then fake his own death in that fight and go into hiding to plant his revenge on the village and his clan. Hashirama narrowed his eyes and asked, why are you talking like you know the future? Naruto said, because she now knows a possible future had events not been changed. Tobirama had enough and hit a pressure point in Naruto's neck and he passed out and he looked at Tuka and Hashirama and said, that's it, this guy is crazy and he messed with you as well, Tuka drawing you into his fantasy. Tuka said, but it wasn't a fantasy. I saw things, I saw the funeral for Izoran Sarutobi when he gave his life to save the village during an invasion. The same invasion the boy here took on a Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shukaku who fully released his demon. I saw as he was trained in the arts of Sage Chakra by the Toads. I saw as he was trained by his godfather Jiraiya and I saw Tsunade future. How she blamed the village and that necklace for the death of everyone important in her life. I saw as he fought and killed Kakuzu. I saw the village being attacked by Akatsuki, which Madara himself recreated as part of his revenge. I saw as he saved Tsunade's life on several occasions going toe-to-toe with another student of Jiraiya who had the Rinnegan, and I saw the fall of the shinobi world. I saw how the survivors of the war Madara created began to starve to death and how the Kazekage, who was once the Jinchuriki of Shukaku and was brought back to life with a Kenjutsu, used a jutsu on Naruto here, sending him to the past where his story began. Going to a point before Madara got control of the Kyuubi to use to kill you, and before he stole his brother's eyes, killing him, giving him eternal youth from the eternal Magna Q. I saw his father, Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage, seal the Kyuubi into Naruto here to save the village, and I saw how the village for the most part made his life hell, and yet he endured, becoming recognized as a hero in many countries for different things. Wave, tea, vegetable, star, wind, rice field, snow, waterfall, sea, Oni, I saw it all. And through it all he found a few who became precious to him, and he endured the lose of it all thanks to Madara revenge. Hashirama said, so he was planning to attack Madara from the beginning. Tuka said, no. You're forgetting he begged Madara not to use that attack on him. He had already changed history by signing the Kitsune contract himself to stop Madara from getting his hands on it. That and saving Nawaki life has already changed the future. The only reason he wanted to fight Madara was to test himself against him as he was now, not the insane man he fought in the future who used 5 different Biju to attack and kill his comrades. Not the man who in the end had to be held down by Naruto's friend who gave him that scar so he could kill them both. He wanted to see where he honestly was. Please don't let your feelings for Madara cloud your judgment, Hashirama-sama. The boy is not a threat to the village. As she was pleading to Hashirama. Hashirama said, and what of your feelings for him? He saved your son's life. How do you know that what you saw was real and not a planted memory? With war coming, Iwa or anyone else could have set this all up as a trap. They could have found out who your maiden family was and knew after he weakened Madara that I would want you to check his mind. Honestly, listen to yourself. Time travel, the Rinnegan, eternal youth. It's all too much to believe. Tuka said, but it's all true. I'm willing to bet my entire life on it and the lives of my children. Please. Hashirama frowned and said, Madara and I may not have seen eye to one another in the past, but I know Madara would never kill his own brother just to take his eyes. I can't accept the rants and illusions that this boy has shown you over a man I have known for over 50 years. Tuka looked down and said, please don't hurt him, Hashirama. I beg of you, please. If you must take his life, then take mine as well, because I know what I saw is real and what I have told you is the truth. If you cannot believe me or this boy and decide that your faith in Madara over us, then I can no longer follow you." As she had tears following down her face, both brothers looked at her in shock, and Hashirama closed his eyes and turned away from her, looking out into the darkness outside the window, and said, "You have followed my clan since you were 13, Tuka, when you fell in love with my son. In all that time you have never once given me any reason to doubt you and your loyalty to our clan. I can understand why you would want to repay this boy for saving your son's life, but I cannot accept the story about him being from a future Konoha. I will not have him harmed, but I cannot allow him to stay in Konoha. I will make this compromise with you. He can go on and live his life and find a place for your son's life, but I cannot accept the story about him being from a future Konoha. I will not have him harmed, but I cannot allow him to stay in Konoha. I will make this compromise with you. He can go on and live his life and find a place to call home, but not here. If I do this, will you still follow me?" Tuka bit her lip and looked at the body of Naruto and said, "Yes." Hashirama said, "We will never speak of any of this again. Do you both understand?" As he looked at his brother and daughter-in-law, both Nod and Hashirama said, "Very well. I will take him away from the village while he can't move and release him at the edge of our border, giving him my orders to never return. Tobirama, you are in charge until I return." Tobirama nods, and Hashirama walked over and picked Naruto up, placing him over his shoulder, and looked at Tuka, who was still on her knees, and thought, "Why would you side with this stranger over your own family? What did you see that has upset you so much?" As he left in a swirl of leaves with Naruto, Tobirama looked at Tuka and said, "Go home and relax, Tuka. The boy won't be harmed, and he is still free to go as he chooses, as long as he does not return here. You have done more than enough for him." As he left, Tuka thought, "But what is enough for the person who saved your children's lives, and what is enough to save them from themselves?" When Naruto awoke, there was a campfire going a few feet away from him, and he saw Hashirama sitting in a meditative state not too far away, and his eyes moved around, and Hashirama said, "I see that you're awake." Naruto said, "Yeah." Hashirama opened his eyes and looked at Naruto's and said, "Why did you come to Konoha?" Naruto sighed and said, "It's my home." Hashirama said, "No, it's not. Before a few days ago you never had stepped foot in Konoha before." Naruto was silent a few minutes and asked, "What's it like?" Hashirama blinked and asked, "What's what like?" Naruto asked, "What's it like for you being Hokage?" Hashirama was confused and asked, "Why would you want to know that?" Naruto closed his eyes a few moments and said, "When I was still a child, Jiji would tell me stories about you and your brothers. He told me how you first took him as your apprentice shortly after his clan came to Konoha. He told me he was angry about being in the village because some kids would pick on him and call him Monkey Boy and Hairy Beast." Hashirama eyed Naruto with a little shock as Naruto continued, "He told me how you saw as he busted his hands up with anger from punching some new trees that you grew and were setting aside for something special. He told me how when you asked him about why he was doing it, he told you to mind your own business." Hashirama asked, "This Jiji, was it Izoran?" Naruto said, "Yeah. He was the Sandaime Hokage. After Dad sealed the Kyuubi in me, he was the one who was mostly in my life. Even though I lived in an apartment after the orphanage kicked me out, he would always find time to take me out for ramen and tell me stories about being Hokage. He told me about how as Hokage everyone in the village was precious to you. I didn't completely understand it at the time, but he was my lifeline. Had it not been for him, I would have turned into what Gaara was before I saved him from his darkness. I can't go back, can I?" Hashirama said, "No." Naruto looked at the sky and saw some stars and said, "Will you kill me?" Hashirama said, "No, I won't," thinking that Naruto was asking for what he did to Madara as punishment. Naruto frowned and asked, "Please, I have nothing here. My friends, my precious people, my home. Everything I know is gone. I've changed history so all those who would be hurt by the future won't be. Those who could have been born won't be." As he closed his eyes, Hashirama was shocked hearing Naruto's words, and he looked away and thought, "It's just a trick. Time travel's not possible. He can't be from the future." As he stood up and said, "You're on an island north of Konoha. The only animals on this island are deer and rabbits and a couple of cows. There's a fresh water river and a lake where you can get fish in the center of the island. This island was where my clan kept a source of meat when we were nomads before Konoha was formed. You can stay here or you can go wherever you want, but don't return to Konoha. I am giving you this island as thanks for saving my grandson, but I can't believe that you are from the future or what you claimed about Madara. We have known each other since we were children and I just can't accept your claims over my own experience. Naruto said, I understand. Hashirama said, then I guess this is goodbye. I used a special wood that I grew to make this fire. It will burn for the next 48 hours so all the animals will stay away from here. I must return back home to my clan. Naruto said, wait. Hashirama turned and asked, what is it? Naruto said, my left vest pocket. There is a scroll there. I want you to give it to Nawaki and his team. Hashirama blinked and asked, what is on it? Naruto said, it's what I was planning on teaching them to make sure they don't die. I don't want to see Tsunade turn into the woman I knew in the future, and making sure her brother lives will keep that from happening. Hashirama frowned as he walked over and took the scroll and opened it and read. Tree climbing. This is a chakra control exercise where you have to channel chakra to your feet to stick to a tree. To much and you blow off, to little and you fall off. This exercise is designed to increase your chakra reserves as well as your control. Water walking. Do not attempt until you can run up and down a tree for 1 hour without a break. Like tree climbing, water walking is about channeling the right amount of chakra to the bottom of your feet, to much and you blow off, to little and you fall in. This is a more advanced form of chakra control and increasing your reserves. Note: when you can do both these exercises for an hour without stopping, start wearing weights on your arms, chest, and legs. Start with 5 pounds on each arm and leg and 10 on the chest. Increase weights as you get used to them. Wear them all the time. You're not on mission to increase your speed, but take at least 1 day a week to try walking without them so you are used to your increased speed and strength. Note: to make both tree climbing and water walking harder, try adding the leaf floating exercise to both and not just on your head. Use your hands, arms, shoulders as well as you get better. Endurance and stamina training. Run 5 laps around the village every day. You're not on missions. When you can run 5 laps around the village without the need to take a break, increase the number of laps by 5. Keep this going until you can do 25 laps in an hour. Doing these exercises will increase your speed, strength, stamina, chakra reserves, chakra control, and endurance. Special note: to increase your pain tolerance so you won't get distracted if you get hurt during combat. Once you learn to water walk as a team for an hour, begin sparring on top of the water of a hot spring with taijutsu only. That way if you lose your concentration and fall in, you will learn quickly to keep focus and it will build up your pain tolerance as well as combat reflexes. Hashirama read over it again and said after several moments, you really were wanting to train that team, weren't you? Naruto said, Ero-sanin had me go through that same training when I was a genin to prepare myself because I had S-rank missing nins after me who wanted to extract the Kyuubi, which would have resulted in my death. After Jiji was killed and Tsunade Bakken became the Godem, it was all I knew was training to keep a promise and to protect Konoha. Hashirama suddenly had an image of Tsunade being called old lady and he asked, why do you call people by such disrespectful titles? Naruto was silent for a moment and said, because they were the closest thing to a family I ever had. Ero-sanin was my godfather, but I didn't find out he was until after he was dead when I was learning to control the sage chakra. Tsunade Bakken hid herself under a genjutsu to hide her looks because she hated looking old. She was really vain, not like the rest of the women of the Senju clan who hide their looks from everyone but their lovers. Hashirama asked in a neutral voice, how do you know about that? Naruto said, an accident. I showed and told Tuka about a kinjutsu I created that I used to knock out Ero-sanin during that test. It actually can turn me into a woman. It was a sign of trust between us after I accidentally found out she was wearing a genjutsu. I didn't show her how to do the kinjutsu and she didn't release her genjutsu, and if you want to punish anyone for breaking a clan rule or something, then punish me, since she wanted to ensure I didn't tell anyone about it, and so I told her about my jutsu as a way to keep a secret. Hashirama asked, who is Ero-sanin? Naruto said, Jiraiya. Hashirama frowned and said, I see. Naruto said, by the way, have they gotten their summoning contracts yet? Hashirama asked, what are you speaking about? Naruto said, Orochimaru the snake, Jiraiya the toad, and Tsunade the slug. Hashirama frowned and thought. Sarutobi and I are the only ones who know about what that mission is, and even we don't know if they are going to succeed or even what summons they will find. It was all rumors to begin with. And asked, why do you want to know? Naruto said, Ero Sanin. The prophecy that he will be given. My being here I guess would be the prophecy being fulfilled. Hashirama asked, and what is the prophecy? Naruto closed his eyes remembering. A boy shall stumble upon the mountain of the toads and be given the power of the toads. He shall become a pervert without equal, and he shall observe nature in all its beauty. He shall then train a child of prophecy who will either bring peace or destroy the world. The choice of which will depend on a choice Jiraiya will make. Hashirama frowned and asked, and what are you saying, you're this child of prophecy? Naruto snorts and said, I didn't understand it when I heard the prophecy myself. In fact, it wasn't until I signed the contract for the Kitsune that I finally understood what the prophecy was talking about. During Jiraiya life he trained 5 students, 3 orphans from Rain Country to defend themselves during the Second Great Shinobi War. My father before the Third Great Shinobi War, and later me before the last Shinobi War. One of the children from Rain he trained possessed the Rinnegan. I don't know what happened or why, but somehow he became the figurehead of Akatsuki with Madara as the true leader ordering him from the shadows. I don't know what his real name was, but he called himself Pain and made himself a god to the people of Rain since he had the ability to control the bodies of the dead with minor alterations. When Ero Sanin faced him he made a choice. He could have fled the battle and returned to Konoha to tell what he had discovered, but he made a choice. He chose to stay and fight, and with his last breath before he died gave the Elder Toads a clue that they escaped to deliver to me along with one of the modified bodies of Pain. It took a lot of time, but eventually we figure it out, and because of this we were able to destroy Pain. Had Jiraiya not faced Pain and made the choice that gave us the info, then we would have not had the time to figure out how to defeat him, but Madara had prepared for this, and when Konoha was being attacked he had the mist, which he had become the Mizukage of attack all the island nations. Wave, Spring, Sea, Tea, all were destroyed in a surprise attack on every island at once. When that happened and Konoha was weak, he used a kinjutsu he stolen from Orochimaru and resurrected Pain long enough to make the people of Rain to believe their so-called god was giving them a command, and he ordered them to attack each of the other nations while wearing a hiat from another country. Iwa was attacked with Konoha hiat, Suna with Kumo hiat, Kumo with Suna hiat, and then Iwa attacking the minor countries. It triggered war with everyone attacking everyone, and while everyone was distracted Mist moved in and attacked Konoha first. Tsunade died that day, and I was chosen as the Rokudame as the strongest person in the village. I killed 400 men that day, but Konoha was destroyed with a little over 150 survivors. I took the survivors to Suna as our strongest allies. After Mist had been stalled by us that day they moved on and took out Waterfall, Star, Vegetable, Sound. And then they met up with Rain and joined forces and attacked Iwa and Kumo before they targeted Suna. The war lasted 100 days. In that time nothing was left untouched. Mist destroyed the farms of every country they attacked, gathered all resources and sent them back to Mist while they moved on to the next target. Madara did not think Suna could hold out as good as we did, or the fact that Killer Bee and I would go on a suicide mission. We first leveled Rain Country since it was Madara forward outpost to launch attacks on the rest of the elemental nations. I used Sage Chakra and Kyuubi Chakra, and Killer Bee used the power of the Hachibi. When it was over there was nothing of the country left but ruins. We then gathered an army of the other nations who by now had discovered who was truly behind everything. We rallied and sent a strike force to Mist itself. With the help of the other nations under the light of a harvest moon we moved in from all sides of the island. Each of the cage led 50 men moving through the country. Anyone with chakra reserves higher than a genin was killed. All resources were captured, and by dawn we were surrounding the lake the hidden Mist village was in the center of. Iwa Nins then rained down earth jutsu on the walls of the village. When the Mist Nins began to run across the water, Kumo used lightning jutsu to take them out by striking the water itself. When they tried to use long-distance jutsu or weapons, Suna used their wind jutsu to block, and then after showing them that they could not touch us and were trapped, we offered them a chance to surrender. Madara himself showed up and released the Biju he had Akatsuki capture. Each of the cage took on at least one Biju while our men charged the village, taking out as many men as they could. Madara laughed while this was happening and sat with a bag of popcorn, a bottle of sake and his Sharingan on to memorize the events while recording every jutsu he could. He acted like a child in a candy store as he gave commentary to the battle. Madara had made one mistake that no one suspected though, and I was for sure that this mistake had died, but the bastard had an uncanny knack for surviving. Orochimaru, most loyal servant after Orochimaru was destroyed, took parts of Orochimaru body and grafted them to his body. Over time they merged into a new person who was as sick and twisted as both put together. I will forever remember the look on Madara's face when every dead cage from every village appeared, as well as every deceased member of Akatsuki that we had destroyed. Madara then had to get involved in the fighting as the Biju were quickly brought under control by you and a few other kage, and we then took the fight to Madara. Because of the power of the eternal Magna Q, Madara took out nearly everyone, and in the end the one who gave me the scar on my chest used his evolved Sharingan long enough for him to hold him, and he asked me to kill them both to end the madness. I used my ultimate attack and destroyed them both. After it was over and we returned to our homelands with the resources, the true cost of the war became apparent. We had enough food and water to last a few months. When Gaara sent me back, the secret knowledge that all Kage shared was that within a year's starvation would be worldwide. There was no way to grow enough food to save the people. I didn't even know Gaara had a jutsu to send me back, or he was planning it until he was using it while I was distracted in my thoughts. Now history has changed itself, since Madara won't be getting the contract for Kyuubi to use against you, and I guess since he's going to die, the future is truly changed forever. I already learned that some of the people who would have been born won't be now, because it was the Kyuubi attack on Konoha that forced their parents to have them. I guess now that the dark future that I lived in will never exist, the prophecy has been fulfilled. With a sad smile on his face as a tear fell down his face, Hashirama shook his head and said, "Well, you have heard my warning, do not return to Konoha. Farewell," as he shushined away. Naruto sighed and thought, and so in the end it doesn't matter because I am alone again. In the sky, Naruto saw a star shoot across the sky and he closed his eyes and fell asleep. The next morning when Hashirama returned to the village, he could see that something had happened, and he looked around and saw Sarutobi, and he asked, "What's up, you old monkey? Why does everyone look upset?" Sarutobi asked, "You mean you don't know yet, sensei?" Hashirama asked, "Know what?" Sarutobi looked around and said, "This morning the body of Izuna Uchiha was found in the Uchiha temple. He had been killed and his eyes had been removed." Hashirama paled and thought, "No, it can't be," and asked, "Who done it?" Sarutobi lowered his voice and said, "The Uchiha claim that it was Madara who took his brother's eyes, since most of his belongings are gone, including his weapons and other items that were personal for him, as well as his disappearing." Hashirama swallowed and said, "All right, monkey. I need to take care of some things. Before I go though, can I ask you something?" Sarutobi said, "Of course, sensei." Hashirama asked, "Have you ever told anyone about when we first met and what was said that day, or what happened?" Sarutobi looked confused and said, "Of course not. That was not one of my better moments, and I would never tell anyone what happened that day. Why?" Hashirama said, "Nothing. I just recently heard a story that was similar to that, and I thought it was someone repeating what they might have heard from you." CYA later. As he left toward the Hokage office. When he got there, he saw his brother sitting in his chair, and he closed the door and asked, "So tell me, what exactly has happened while I was away?" Tobirama frowned and said, "Early this morning several Uchiha went to the Uchiha shrine to begin preparing Madara's body for his funeral service. Last night his brother was at the shrine praying for his brother's afterlife as well as forgiveness for what he was about to do. From all indications of where the body was, where he was killed at, as well as the other evidence, we have no choice but to believe that Madara killed his brother and stole his eyes, leaving the ones that were destroyed yesterday on the ground beside his brother's body before he gathered his things and left. It is the only explanation." Hashirama frowned and asked, "Are we sure that someone didn't sneak into the village and kill Izuna and steal Madara's body and belongings to collaborate Naruto's story somehow?" Tobirama shook his head and said, "Sorry brother, but it's not possible. Madara's personal battle fan was taken, and you know personally that no one else can touch that but him. You have the scar on your arm to prove it, and we both saw as he gave it to other Uchiha, including his brother, to remind them to never touch it. It killed 3 and left Izuna injured." Hashirama sat down looking tired and said, I can't believe that he would do it. Tobirama said, the kid was right. He said all dojutsu have the same weakness. They fear going blind, and from what you saw and heard yesterday from his clone as well as Izuna, you know it's true. Madara prided himself on being the strongest in his clan, and his defeat to you all those years ago and then again to Naruto yesterday drove him over the edge. Hashirama closed his eyes and said, do you think I was wrong about banishing him? Tobirama said, I don't know, brother. I know our relationship with Tuka has been damaged by it. It just seems so impossible, and yet. Hashirama said, and yet a part of you feels that it has to be real. He told me about it last night, about his future, about the fall of the humanity. He also told me about the old monkey who he calls Gigi. He knows about things that only me and Monkey know about, and neither of us have ever spoken of to anyone. He also told me about Team 7 and a mission that Monkey has asked me to send them on, and I am afraid if they succeed with it and if what he told me happens, then I have no choice but to believe it all, and if it's true, then over the next several years there will be 3 great shinobi wars before he was born, and then the final one because of Madara. Tobirama asked, what should we do then, brother, if it is true? Hashirama tossed Tobirama the scroll Naruto gave him and said, read that and tell me what you think. Tobirama opened it and read and whistles low as he finishes it and said, this is impressive. I never even thought about a couple of those exercises. I take it is from him. Hashirama said, yeah, and that's not all. I searched his pockets while he was out and found other scrolls with supplies and weapons, but what shocked me the most is there is a scroll with the Hitaki clan seals on it from someone named Kakashi. Apparently he was Naruto Junin sensei, and he played favorites to repay a debt to a fallen friend, and in the end, to make amends to Naruto, he gave him a scroll with every jutsu he ever copied with the Sharingan eye he was given by his fallen friend. It was supposed to have been a birthday present to Naruto, but it was given when the village was attacked by Akatsuki based on the scroll that was with it, and Kakashi died. It was supposed to help Naruto to achieve his dream of becoming Hokage, because in the future to be Hokage you had to know over 1000 jutsu. There are over 1100 jutsu on that scroll in different element. Tobirama's eyes were wide and he said, that's more jutsu than anyone in the village has. Hashirama said, I know. I was tempted to take it but I couldn't. Something told me if I did then the village would be destroyed by my actions. Tobirama frowned and Hashirama said, I have no choice now, brother. I have to send Team 7 on that mission and if things work out the way he said they would, I may have just kicked out a chance to save the lives of countless Konoha nens. Tobirama said, and if you did, what then? Hashirama said, I don't know, I just don't know. Later that morning Team 7 walked into the Hokage office and Hashirama looked at them along with their sensei and he said, Team 7. I trust you are all doing great today. Each nods and Sarutobi asked, what is it you wished to see us about, Hokage-sama? Hashirama looked at all three and said, for the past few months your sensei and I have been discussing a mission to help strengthen the power and reputation of our village. The Hitaki clan has a summon for dogs which they claimed was bestowed on them for loyalty beyond that of any other human ever. About 5 years ago the last clan head before he passed away told his son about 3 contracts that the dogs knew of as a secret test to see if the son was worthy of the contract for dogs or not. They gave him a set of riddles to each contract and told him he could track them down and use them if he wanted to, but the truth was you can only have one contract, so if he would have went after them then he would have lost the contract to the dogs. The son, Tsukumo Hitaki, told Sarutobi here about the test around 2 years ago during a patrol. I have talked it over with my brother and we have decided that you 3 shall each track down one of these supposed summoning contracts, and if all 3 of you return safely and any one of you 3 should succeed in obtaining one of them, your sensei will have passed the test that Tobirama and I have set for him and he will be named the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha. Should you fail we will then have to find a way to test the other candidate for the title. I plan to retire soon and my brother will take over full time for me while beginning training Sarutobi in his duties as the new Hokage if one of you 3 succeed. I do not know if the contracts are real, but the dogs have swore on their honor that these contracts were real. Orochimaru asked, may I ask Hokage-sama, why is it that you are evaluating Sensei to be Hokage on the success of our mission? Hashirama said, simple, you 3 were his team straight out of the academy. By you completing this mission you will show how well he taught you to survive, since each of you will be on your own while completing a task that could be impossible to succeed in. I am sure many people have went after these contracts in the past, and so I believe that if you can acquire them, then he trained and prepared you for anything, which is something a Hokage has to be able to do, because there are many decisions you will make that you will question if you did the right thing. And thought, and pray that it does not come back to destroy you in the village. As he imagined Naruto, Tsunade asked, well, what are the clues and where are these contracts? Hashirama took out 3 scrolls and he froze as he looked at the sealed scrolls, thinking about what Naruto had said about their contracts, as each member of Team 7 wondered why he froze like that, and sat them on the desk and said, please grab 1 scroll each. Jiraiya was the first to grab 1 quickly, and then Orochimaru and Tsunade grabbed 1 lastly, and Hashirama said, inside each of those scrolls is one of the 3 riddles that was given to your sensei. You are to leave today and you have 6 months to complete the mission. You will have to figure them out on your own. I am sorry, but that is all the info we have on them. Jiraiya opened his scroll and read. To reach enlightenment you must get as close to heaven as you can. To do so you must travel the earth, and go through the sands of time. Tsunade opened her scroll and read. A steady pace will win the race. The sea will only stop your progress. Heat and cold are an enemy to all, so find a place that is full of life and comfortable for all. Orochimaru saw both his teammate look confused, and he opened his and read. A sacrifice will be what you will need. Into the belly of the beast you must go, through poison and pain swamps that are overgrown. Where rain and marsh are a way of life, you must go into a path with no light. Jiraiya asked, what in the world are these riddles? They don't make any sense. Hashirama said, that is why they have yet to be claimed, I believe, and you are tasked to figure them out. You may leave when ready. Do not take anything that links you to Konoha, but please be careful. You only have 6 months to complete this mission and return to Konoha. Do not take more than 6 months though. Each member of Team 7 slowly nods, and Tsunade asked, if I may ask, grandfather, where is Naruto at? Hashirama asked, why? Tsunade saw everyone looking at her and she said, I wanted to ask him about his summoning contract to see if he could give me any info on what to expect. Sarutobi said, each contract is different, but usually to gain the contract you usually have to pass a test. Hashirama said, I do not know how he gained his contract, and he is not here any longer, Tsunade. Do not worry about him and do your mission. Tsunade frowned as she saw the look on her grandfather's face and thought, why is he so worried? Is it because of what happened with Madara, or is it something else? She felt her arm being touched and she saw her sensei motioning with his head, and she nods before following her team out the door. Once they were gone, Hashirama let out a tired sigh and thought, I never would have believed before that I would actually want a mission to fail. 3 hours later, Tsunade was walking toward the main gate with her pack, having already said goodbye to her family and gathered her things, and she thought, what could that riddle mean? I don't understand. When she got to the gate she was surprised to see Jiraiya there sitting with a book in his lap, and she asked, what are you up to, Baka? Jiraiya looked up a moment and said, oh, hey flat chest. I was just thinking about something. I think I might have figured out my riddle. Tsunade blinked and had a shocked look on her face and asked, really, what is it? Jiraiya pulled out the scroll with his riddle and said, well, read mine and then look at this. Tsunade read it and then looked at a sketch of the world and said, remember that painter guy we had escort on our first B-rank mission? Tsunade nods and said, yeah, and he gave you that book when you wouldn't shut up about how you wanted to see the world like he did. Jiraiya said, yeah, he wrote this book and in it is a rough sketch of the world with the desert, forest, sea, river, and other natural features. I was looking for what would be considered as close to heaven as you could get, or as close to the sky as you could get. I figured what it meant, and I noticed that there is a huge mountain range on this map. Then as I looked at the map I noticed that it actually makes sense in a way. To go though the sands of time, I thought of actual sand, and you find sand in either a desert or a beach like here. As he pointed to the map, Tsunade said, and the part of traveling earth would be that area where between the mountains and the desert. That is not actually that bad of a theory. I am impressed. If you're right, then all you have to do is find the highest mountain there, and you should find the contract in the mountains of Kumo. As she looked at the sketch, she thought as she pulled out her scroll, if Jiraiya is right, then what would mine be? The sea will only stop your progress, meaning it's not on an island but somewhere actually away from the sea. Heat and cold are enemy to all, so it would have to be somewhere that is not hot like the desert or cold like the mountains or the area around the frozen tundra. HMM. A place full of life. That place where Earth that Jiraiya must go through doesn't seem to be that since he shows very little plant life there on the map. Perhaps that would be the area. The grassy plains of Kuso. And now that I think about it, there is nothing on this map that shows it would cause you to change your traveling speed so you could travel at a steady pace. And said, Jiraiya, I think I could kiss you for this, but I think you just helped me figure out my clue is as well. The voice of their third teammate was heard above them and he said, well, if an idiot like Jiraiya could figure out these clues, then they must not be worth all the trouble to get them. As he began to walk through the gates ignoring Jiraiya's shouts of Teme and thought, from what I saw of the map and of my riddle, then I must head toward river country because it has lots of poisonous plants, insects that cause great deal of pain, swamps that grow back quickly even on mostly used paths, and it rains there more than anywhere else in the world. But what is the path with no light? As the members of Team 7 split up to go in different directions to search for the contracts they were told about, Uchiha Madara was looking over the Valley of the End facing toward Konoha and thought, it is odd that you have not come to face me, Hashirama. I was sure that you would have tracked me down to find out why I killed my brother. As he turned toward the west and began to walk away and thought. 2 weeks later, Tsunade was walking through the plains of grass country and thought, stupid riddles. I have crossed this country 3 times in the last 10 days and I have not found anything. As she crossed her arms and walked over to a log that was on the ground and sat down. As she sat there, she saw birds flying in the air, butterflies on flowers and flying near the ground, a rabbit eating some grass, and she sighed and said, it's peaceful here. After resting for a half an hour, she got up and looked around and said, slow and steady wins the race, but where is the finish line? As she began to walk and after making it halfway across the field, the ground underneath her caved in and she screamed as she fell into a small cave and slid down a smooth surface before she came to rest at the bottom of the cave. She groaned and stood up and asked, what happened? A female voice said, you fell into our home. Causing Tsunade to look around and saw a huge slug, and she went wide-eyed and started to back up, and the slug said, relax human, I am Katsuyu. Queen of the slugs. Who might you be? Tsunade said, I am Tsunade Senju, granddaughter to Hashirama Senju, the Shodem Hokage of Konoha. It is an honor to meet you, Katsuyu-sama. Katsuyu asked, where were you going when you fell here, princess of Konoha? Tsunade said, I was actually trying to find you, I think. My grandfather has asked myself and my 2 teammate to look for 3 summoning contracts that he was told about from the summoner of the dog's contract. We were each given a riddle to follow, and my riddle was a steady pace will win the race. The sea will only stop your progress. Heat and cold are an enemy to all, so find a place that is full of life and comfortable for all. Katsuyu nods and said, I see, and you were able to figure out that riddle, but why should I let you sign the contract for my family? Tsunade said, I don't know but why you should let me sign your contract, but if there is any way that I can prove myself, I am more than willing to do it. Katsuyu looked at Tsunade and said, there is a test. I have the ability to break myself into multiple slugs of smaller size, and it has helped me to take care of each of my children at the same time. If you wish to earn the respect of my family, then what you must do, go with each of my smaller forms who will have one of my children who each have different taste of plants that they like. They will tell you the name and you must find that plant they want. If you can find all of them before the first day of summer, then I will let you sign my family contract, but you only get 1 chance to find the correct plant, and if you do not find it, you will have to wait till you do every other one of my children before you will be allowed to try to find the correct plant again. However, if you fail, then to protect my family I will protect them by destroying you to keep the secret of our home safe, but if you find them all, then I will accept you as a member of my family. Do you understand? Tsunade gulped and said, yes. And thought, hopefully all those herbs mom taught me, plants I learned for medicines, and plants grandfather taught me about will be enough. Katsuyu deformed down to thousands of little slugs 2 feet tall and left the room. Soon one returned with a smaller slug on its back, and the little slug said, fox breath. Tsunade nods and asked, so how many children do you have? Katsuyu said, a little over 400. Tsunade's eyes widened and said, well, let's get going. And thought, now I understand the part about going slow and steady. If I don't pace myself and take my time to get the correct plant, then I am dead. As she was led out of the cavern they were in. 3 weeks after leaving Konoha, Jiraiya had been in the mountains of Kumo for a week now, and he thought, stupid mountains and stupid summons. How am I supposed to find anyone when I can't even see because of these stupid clouds? As he climbed he blinked as his hand felt a curved rock and thought, this feels almost like a breast made out of stone. As he got a small nosebleed which he wiped off and then used the hand to feel the stone again while having fantasy. As he giggled while caressing the stone that drew his imagination, he suddenly felt the stone shift toward him from the shaking of his giggle, and the stone with Jiraiya on it fell toward the ground below and he screamed, "No!" As he hit a river and he heard a crash behind him as he slowly stood up wincing from the hard impact on the water, and he saw a statue of a toad landed on its feet with cracks going through it, and he saw that a bloody handy print of his, and his sweat dropped and thought. Note to self, never imagine a stone as a breast again, especially when it is a giant eyeball. Jiraiya's ear twitched as he heard several female voices and he thought, oh, this is great. I can spy on some lovely ladies while they play in the water. As he began to follow the voices, and he soon found a small waterfall, and he looked around trying to find the source of the female voices. As he was looking he knocked a small stone off the edge he was standing on, and then from below in the water several shouts of "Pervert!" was heard, and Jiraiya saw several toads jumping up the side of the cliff, and right before the toads pounced on him and began to attack him he heard a female voice come from the biggest frog there saying, "Let's get him, girls." As he was attacked and beat down. When Jiraiya awoke he found himself in front of a giant toad with a graduation hat on his head, and he said, "Ah, you must be Jiraiya. We've been expecting you." Jiraiya gulped and said, "Yes I am. How do you know me?" The elder toad said, "Relax Jiraiya. I have foresaw your coming here for over 300 years now. I had a vision many years ago about a boy who shall stumble upon the mountain of the toads and be given the power of the toads. You shall become a pervert without equal, and you shall observe nature in all its beauty. You shall then train a child of prophecy who will either bring peace or destroy the world. The choice of which will depend on a choice you will make." Jiraiya asked, "So if you knew about me coming, then why did you not just come get me?" The elder toad said, "Now where would be the fun in that? Pa, please take him to sign the toad contract and begin teaching him our ways." Two toads jump and land on each side of Jiraiya, and Pa said, "Please come with us." As they jumped away and Jiraiya took one last look at the elder toad and followed the two smaller ones. Once they were gone the elder toad said, "I wonder how long it will take him to realize that I knew his name. I wonder though, what is the one who has the kitsune contract like that sent me that scroll?" Flashback. The elder toad was sitting on his pedestal when a green blur appeared in front of him, and he saw a two-tailed fox standing there, and he asked, "Who are you and what are you doing in my lands?" The fox said, "My name is Lee and I come on behalf of my summoner. He has asked me to deliver a scroll to you about the child of prophecy." The elder toad's eyes were wide a moment and asked, "How does your summoner know about the child of prophecy?" Lee said, "I am afraid you will have to read his scroll to understand." The elder toad said, "Very well, Ma, please take the scroll away from him and read it to me." Pa landed beside Lee and took the scroll that was in a pouch on Lee's back, and he opened it and read. "Greetings Gamma clan. My name is Naruto and I wish to discuss the prophecy that you have. A boy shall stumble upon the mountain of the toads and be given the power of the toads. He shall become a pervert without equal, and he shall observe nature in all its beauty. He shall then train a child of prophecy who will either bring peace or destroy the world. The choice of which will depend on a choice the boy will make." At this point all three toads were wide-eyed, and the elder toad said, "Proceed." Pa nods and read. "The prophecy has been fulfilled already through acts of impossible feats and blessings of a kami with the help of the teachings of the sage arts, and the world was thrown into darkness which destroyed all but now has been redeemed. However, please ensure that should you receive another vision you still give him the prophecy, because without him believing in the prophecy having yet to be fulfilled the world could fall back into darkness again without a chance for redemption. Signed, one of the two children of prophecy." End flashback. It had been 6 weeks since Orochimaru entered River Country, and he looked at the cave he was in and thought, "I will not die here. I will pass this test." It has been 3 months since Tsunade first left the Leaf Village, and she was currently in the Cavern of the Slugs reading, and Katsuyu asked, "What new lesson are you reading about today, princess?" Tsunade looked up and said, "I was reading on how to repair damage to the heart. I am still surprised about what happened." Katsuyu asked, "And is everything as she said it was? Is everything that they claimed true as you tested them?" Tsunade said, Yes. I have tried it on several fish and have found every jutsu here works just like they said it would. Katsuyu asked, do you trust them? Tsunade took a deep breath and said, at first no but there is nothing I can say now. It honestly appears that the gifts they gave us were meant to help us. I just don't understand. As she remembered what happened. Flashback. It was the day of the full moon and Tsunade had the last child of Katsuyu, Hiko, along with the mini Katsuyu, looking for a scarlet clover in Tsunade. After looking for half a day, Tsunade found it and she said, that's the last one. Katsuyu said, well done Tsunade, you have passed my test, providing for my children and have shown great patience and knowledge of herbs, plants, and poisons. I accept you as the summoner of the slugs. As a puff of smoke appeared and a scroll appeared beside Katsuyu. Katsuyu said, please sign your name in blood on this contract and place your handprint on it and I will tell you the signs for the summoning. Tsunade did as she was told and after that the scroll went up in a puff of smoke and before Katsuyu could say anything a female voice said, I see the slugs have gained a truly honorable summoner today. Causing Tsunade and Katsuyu to look around. Tsunade asked, who is there? The voice said, relax Tsunade-sama and Katsuyu-sama. I do not come here to either of you or bring harm in any way. As they saw a two-tailed red fox walk out behind a tree and bow before them. Katsuyu asked, how did you find this place Kitsune and who are you? The fox said, my name is Sakura no Kitsune and how I found this place is because I was told about this place a long time ago by the one who trained me to heal. I was told the land of the slugs had the greatest herbs that could be used to make the best medicines. I came here because my summoner knew that Tsunade-sama would be coming to find you, Jiraiya-sama would be going to find Gambunta-sama, and Orochimaru would be going to find Manda. Tsunade asked, how does your summoner know about our mission and who we seek and who is your summoner? Sakura said, you have already met my summoner, the one who defeated your team in Konoha. As for how he knows, that is a secret. The Shodem, Nidame, and your mother know the truth but they did not all believe it and asked him to leave Konoha and never return. My summoner is listening to their wishes but he has reason to want to see Konoha protected and grow strong so he has sent a gift to you Tsunade-sama and to you as well Katsuyu-sama as an offering to please protect Konoha through the dark times ahead. Katsuyu asked, what dark times does your summoner speak of? Sakura said, war, Katsuyu-sama. A great war is about to sweep across all the lands. Tsunade frowned and asked, what are these gifts that you have for us? Not trusting Sakura. Sakura said, I have for you Tsunade-sama the entire knowledge of medical jutsu that I know. They are to help you heal anything from minor scratches to replacing organs, removing poisons, mending bones, repairing chakra networks and much more. As for the gift for you Katsuyu-sama, my master fears that when this war consumes the lands that your family will not be able to find food as you do now, so to ensure that your family does not starve he has given me a scroll with 2,000 plants fully grown to feed your family. None of them are poisonous and they are herbs and spices since we did not know what your family likes. Both Katsuyu and Tsunade were stunned as Sakura pulled out the scroll from two pouches on her back and set them on the ground and Katsuyu asked, why does your summoner want to protect Konoha and why are you giving us your knowledge? Sakura, who had started to turn and walk away, stopped and said, because we don't want to see history repeat itself. As she went up in smoke, both Katsuyu and Tsunade were stunned and Tsunade walked over to the scrolls and opened one and began to read and her eyes widened as she said, wow. I know a few of these but I never even heard of some of these medical jutsu. Katsuyu asked, please check the other scroll for me Tsunade. Tsunade nods and opened the scroll and 2,000 plants unsealed themselves in individual plant beds and Katsuyu looked at each plant identifying them and she said, I will accept the gift the Kitsune and their summoner have sent and if you see their summoner again please give him my thanks Tsunade. Tsunade said, yes Katsuyu-sama. End flashback. Katsuyu said, well, for now I am inclined to believe the word of the Kitsune. Kami help me, I never thought I would hear myself say those words. Tsunade snickered and said, I know what you mean. I heard Kitsunes were tricksters at heart. Katsuyu was silent for several moments and Tsunade asked, is something wrong Katsuyu? Katsuyu said, for some reason I don't think of Sakura as a Kitsune. I don't know why. Tsunade said, who knows? Is there anything I can do for you anyways Katsuyu? Katsuyu said, "It's time for you to learn more about us aiding you in battle." Tsunade nods and gets up, sealing the scroll, and follows Katsuyu. With Jiraiya. Jiraiya was currently panting and he said, "I never knew toads could be so tough." Ma said, "Don't be upset, Jiraiya-chan. I have been fighting since before you were ever born." Jiraiya asked, "But why do you have to keep hitting me there?" Ma cocked her head to the side and said, "You peeked on my daughter in the waterfall. Now let's go again." Jiraiya quickly began to scream, "Not the face, not the face. No, not there, not there." With Orochimaru. Orochimaru was still in the cave and he laughed, "Hee, now take this." As he shot snakes out of the sleeves of his shirt, and the man he was facing was covered in snakes who began to eat him. Manda looked at Orochimaru and said, "Good Orochimaru, good. You show no problem killing your prey. You are truly worthy of the snake contract." Orochimaru said, "Prey always try to escape a predator." As he shot snakes out of his sleeve again, who grabbed another man and yanked him away from the wall where he was hiding into the middle of the room, where Manda snapped forward and consumed the man and said, "Foolish humans. To think these men would try to find a treasure here in this place. Greed is a nasty emotion that will destroy you." Orochimaru said, "These mere bandits were nothing. I seek stronger prey, Madara." Madara said, "Soon, Orochimaru, soon. First you must finish learning our way of fighting." Orochimaru got a gleam in his eye and said, "Then let's proceed, shall we?" In Konoha, Team 2 was each panting as they stood on top of a hot spring, and Nawaki said, "2 hours. I think that's enough sparring for now." Dango said as he held his ribs, "I think you're right. I think Choco broke one of my ribs." Choco said, "Sorry about that. I guess I don't know my own strength anymore. When do you think Sensei will return?" Nawaki, who had made it to shore, said, "I don't know. Grandpa said that something came up and he had to send Naruto's sensei on a secret mission. He did give us that scroll from Sensei, and I have to say we are all stronger now than we ever were." Choco said, "Yeah, so laps are next, right?" Dango said, "Yeah, we got to make 30 laps around the village in an hour." Nawaki said, "Then as soon as our short break is up we will get to them." As he drank some water and threw the bottle to Choco, who drank some and threw it to Dango, who finished it off. After a few minutes they each nod and silently start to run as fast as possible. In a tree nearby, Tobirama thought, "They are definitely stronger thanks to his training. They're at least Chunin level on everything but ninjutsu now. I think we were both wrong, brother." As he shushined away. With Madara. Madara looked at the man who was on the ground in front of him and he asked, "So do you agree to join me in my Akatsuki?" The man said after several seconds, "Only if you agree to let me handle the money of the group." Madara said, "Very well, Kakuzu. Then let's go, shall we?" As he began to walk away, Kakuzu got up holding his ribs and said, "I will have to replace 4 of my hearts soon since you destroyed them." Madara said, "Don't worry, I know the perfect place to get them. By the way, for now put this on and call me Toby." As he threw an item over his shoulder before putting on a mask over his face. Kakuzu caught the item and said, "A Konoha Hiat, why are you giving this to me?" Madara said, "What better way to start a war between the Leaf Village and other countries than to have a couple of Konoha nins attack other countries?" Kakuzu nodded and asked, "And the mask and name Toby?" The newly named Toby turned and said, "Uchiha Madara has to disappear for now because my enemies know what to expect of me, but as Toby they won't know it's me until it is too late. Toby is a bird of prey that will fall upon my enemies, and the mask. The mask shows the spiral of destruction that will consume all that stand in my way." Kakuzu shook his head and said, "I never understood your logic, Toby. You don't care for fame, fortune or glory. All you live for is power and revenge, but what do I care? I only care about getting more money. Now who shall we attack first?" Toby said, "You recently tried to kill the grandson of Hashirama Senju. I think it is time for Hashirama to have his revenge." He. With Naruto. Naruto was standing on top of the water of the ocean that surrounded the small island he had been placed on by Hashirama, holding the ram sign in concentration. Around him 12 water dragons were spinning around each other without touching, and Naruto grunted as he released the seal and the dragons crashed down into the water below, and a cage-bun Shin on the bank 200 yards away shouted, 36 minutes. I would say you have completely mastered that jutsu." Naruto walked onto the shore and said, "Yeah, I can feel my water affinity has improved also. So what is the next water jutsu on Kakashi-sensei list? The clone said, that was the last one actually. You had completed the wind jutsu, non-elemental jutsu and most of the earth jutsu before we came back. Now that you have completed the rest of the earth and water jutsu, all we have left are around 200 fire jutsu, 75 lightning jutsu and around 100 odd elements. Naruto took a deep breath and said, alright. Let's work on the odd elements first and get them out of the way. I don't think I will ever be able to use lightning jutsu because of my primary wind affinity, and since I have basically mastered earth and water, which are both weaknesses of fire, they are probably out as well. The clone asked, what about trying to work on your sand, wood, and ice jutsu? Naruto sat down to rest, feeling really tired, and said, I might be able to experiment with the ice by combining a water jutsu and a wind jutsu together, like the water dragon and wind dragon, and maybe a few others like that, but it takes 3 times the normal chakra to use ice than either of those jutsu regularly do. Wood is still mostly using that growth jutsu and concentration to manipulate it. If I could have got the Shodem to teach me a few of his wood jutsu, I might be able to do more, but Yamato-sensei only had so many wood jutsu himself, and he only let me learn growth to try and help make food for people, and even then it was not the best, and I had to channel sage chakra with it. Sand is mostly a pre-stage element. Gaara always had to infuse his chakra into the sand to be able to make it, which is why he always carried his sand with him. My fighting style takes speed to work, so using it is more than a distraction like I did back in Konoha is not really worth it. I guess the best I can do for now would be working on those odd elements and then see if I can upgrade a few of the jutsu Kakashi-sensei gave me. Give me the Master Scroll and Dispel to inform the clones out at sea about what I planned and have them work of their bunch and scroll list. The clone said, right boss. As he went up in smoke. A voice that brought a smile to Naruto's face said, you know, normally when people have conversations with themselves it shows signs of mental instability. Naruto said, yeah, but how many people can give an actual body to their mind and let it go wild? Sakura. Sakura walked out and sat down beside him, and he began to pet her behind her ears, and she whined a little before relaxing, and he asked, so how are you? Sakura said, good, but you haven't called any of us since you had Lee and I run those 2 missions for you. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and said, I just been here training and trying to relax. Sakura asked, but why aren't you out in the world enjoying yourself or going and tracking down your family? Naruto said, I don't like trying to have fun alone, and with war fixing to start, people are suspicious of new people, so I won't be able to make any new friends, and as for my family, how am I supposed to do that? Go to Whirlpool Country and say, hi, I'm an Uzumaki from the future and I came to meet my family. If they really are the nobles the brothers and Madara talked about, odds are they're stuck-up snobs, and I would become pissed telling them off and probably make some enemies, running the chance of mom and dad ever getting together. Sakura said, but why are you worried if they don't get together? You protected because of the Kyuubi chakra. Naruto sighed as he closed his eyes and said, but how many other people are going to cease to exist because of me? Hinata, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Kiba, Konohamaru. I think the best thing I can do is stay away from everyone and everything and let the world pass me by. Sakura shot Naruto a glare and said, don't you dare do that. Don't you dare use us as an excuse to not try to live because you're scared. Yes, the world is going to change, and yes, some of our friends won't be born, but then perhaps some new ones will. Don't deny the world the sun because you're afraid you might bring a drought. If you do, then eventually the world will die. Naruto sighed and said, sorry. I just don't know what to do, Sakura. All I ever known is gone. This isn't my world. I'm probably the strongest person on the planet, and yet what can I do with the abilities I have? Make myself king and tell others what to do. I won't follow Madara path. Sakura said, then find and follow your own path, Naruto. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a simple step. Don't plan where to go, just go. Explore the world. I've done it myself some already. I went to places I knew in the future, and I saw what it was like before it became what I knew. You should see Wave Country. There is only a single fishing village on that entire island now. You have a second chance at life, Naruto, don't waste it. As she went up in smoke, Naruto sat there for the next hour watching the waves crash against the shore before he went back to his little cabin he built using the growth jutsu